everyone doing out there tonight? Yes, we are going to do our recap Wednesday. We have a good little lineup with us tonight. We are ready to go. But first, let's bring in the co-host right there. Boom. What's up, Miss Red
Hi,
Riding Hood
everybody.
this evening? How are you?
I'm
Doing all
very
right
happy
tonight?
tonight, Adam. And how are you?
Just got
I'm
off
very
work, came
happy.
home, woke up to like 3-4 inches of freaking snow, come home, and it's all melted. Typical weather these days, I guess. I'm not sure what to think about all that. All
Oh, we're
right.
back in rainy weather here in Jersey, so
So, all right, next we're going to bring in Joe. How's it going, buddy?
It is going well. It's nice to feel human again. I was sick last week. Feeling again human, and just I'll still ask you and the audience to forgive me if I start choking mid sentence here, but should be good. And
It's all
things
good, buddy.
didn't go the way we wanted to last week, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
All right. All right, next we're going to bring in Ryan from BSing Sports. What's up, brother?
How's it going, man? It's been a little bit.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Well, you got some stuff going on in your neck of the woods, don't you?
Yeah. Still doing 2 shows a week. I just finished finals for this set of classes, so and then it's 4 straight months of class after this. So
Sweet. And then we have one more guest to add to the show right now. There he is.
Hello, my name is Logan, and I'm an alcoholic.
Is that why you're running late tonight, Logan?
What?
Is that why you're running a little bit behind schedule?
I thought it was early. Today's Tuesday, right?
It's Wednesday,
yes.
Oh fuck. Oh jeez. We gotta hurry this up. I got an ayahuasca meeting later.
Logan, we love you, brother. We love you. So what's going on with you, Logan? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, just depression. It's fine. I got off the Cowboys hotline earlier. They were saying that they were all the phone lines were busy, so that was fun.
is it true that Dak broke up with his girlfriend?
I don't know.
Because he didn't get her a ring?
What a fucking L, dude. Like, massive L's all the way around this weekend, man, for that guy. And I don't feel bad in the slightest because the Cowboys and their fan base irritate me so much.
So there's one word in the dictionary that I only reserve for very special few people. And I won't say it on here because Adam will be removed from everything. But that is the word that I will use for Dak Prescott for the rest of my life. That word is only a... Huh? No.
Yeah,
it is all Dak Prescott's fault.
Ryan, obviously you have some fans out there already on your bandwagon tonight.
They got to fill out one of those bandwagon transfer forms that we've seen everywhere before they can claim the Eagles.
Is there
like
Eagles bandwagon
practice uniform, right?
No, everybody hates us, Logan. There's no bandwagon. Everybody
I was
hopes we
gonna
lose
say.
every goddamn week.
It's like, listen. I was just surprised.
Like, I feel bad for the 49ers fan base that are diehards because they're getting a shit ton of fans this weekend.
Whatever.
Melissa, what do you say about that one?
Oh, they shouldn't have won.
The Niners are all over the world. I mean, I've met Niner fans that are in Guam, Sweden, Australia, the UK, Scotland, Ireland. I'm in Jersey.
I met one in Japan.
It's all over the US. So at least Eagles fans have Kevin Hart and his junk
I
stuff.
think the Eagles are very comparable to Nickelback, right? Like, people hate them because it's cool to hate them, but in reality, like, we're actually pretty badass. Like, let's be honest.
I met someone from the 69ers.
You guys have a jail in your stadium.
They got rid of that shit 10 years ago. It's not there anymore.
We have
Jeez.
we have a co-host who runs live streams, and he does a lot of Pittsburgh talk. Pens, what's up, buddy?
Hi, Pens.
Pensman Sports. Ooh, I love this anticipation of hearing him talk for the first time.
I don't think he knows he's on the stream yet.
Hi, Pens.
Pens, you there, buddy?
This is great
Now I'm doing
content.
the-
I
now
love
I'm
it.
doing like the Mike Gazicki fucking hop or some shit. Yeah, we'll go
Oh
for
my
him.
God.
I was thinking the same thing, dude.
And as quickly as he got in, he got out.
Well, I mean,
No,
he
I
got
removed
out
him
a
because he
lot
was
quicker than
frozen.
he got in.
Let's see if he's back yet. Pens, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's lagging as shit, though.
Do we know sign language? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, it's lagging big time.
You need to log out and log back in, buddy.
I don't know, but now it's good now. But you were like everybody that was here.
See, I
was all
shared this
spinning.
on your
It's like,
YouTube
okay.
channel. I didn't mean to. I see him on your YouTube channel. I didn't realize that until after I already started recording. So
Now you're
didn't mean to.
welcome back, Joe.
Thank you.
Have you guys met Pens yet, Ryan and Logan?
I have not.
Pens is Ryan right in the middle there. Logan on the end on the bottom below me.
Do we call you Pins or do we just call you like by your actual name? Or is your actual name Pins? That would be really
I was just
impressive.
about to say, what if his name's Pens?
For right
Can I
now,
call you
yeah.
man? Or
Can I call you Pencils?
God.
Anything? Not
I-
pencils. What the heck?
We just had a civil war. Can we get a guy named Pencils in here and just have him duke it out? No, pins are better. Fuck you.
Number 2, all the way.
Oh my
Oh, like
God.
the big man. I'm a big man.
I always
Okay.
call him Pens. That's what I've always. I know his name, but I've always called him Pens
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the stream.
Yeah, just
I
do
used
that.
to call you Sports
just do
Talking
that.
It. And
A
then
lot of
I don't
people
know.
know me as Sports Talking, but my name Adam's slowly getting out there to people.
It might have been my fault because I refused to call you Sports Talking It. It's a mouthful. And my mouth does not need to be any more full. That sounds
Oh
wrong.
my God.
Or right. 49ers Nation.
See, I told you were getting a ton of fans this weekend.
They love getting their mouth stuffed. Okay,
Oh,
can we get on to
Jesus.
the show?
Yeah,
before
we
you-
show this
Holy
week.
fudge, Logan! All right, Joe, we're gonna kick things off here with your game.
All right.
And this
That's just
is
wrong.
a great picture I found of
Got
this.
him.
This
What an
action.
asshole.
Well, I mean, where do we start? I mean, first of all, it would have been nice if the Bills showed up to the game. And it was just, there was no emotion whatsoever on the Bills side from start to finish, except for number 14 whining all the way through and just being himself. It's only taken 2 years to prove who he is. So we'll see how that soap opera continues as we go forward. But it's just, and I'm not taking anything away from the Bengals because they showed up to play. They executed everything almost perfectly and couldn't be stopped, But I think from our end here, I think it's just very disappointing of how the lack of emotion and the lack of just drive or whatever you want to call it, just, wasn't there. And even now, days after this game, I'm still not seeing it. I'm still, not just the team, but the fans. I don't like the response from the team. Well, we just got beat. Well, you could have done something about that. And just I expected the fans to be, bitterly disappointed and talking about how crushing a defeat this is, and just nobody seemed to go there. Yeah, we just got beat. And I don't know. I don't have answers. I guess, I'm on a sports show trying to provide answers from the local point of view. And I really don't have them. I don't know why they didn't show up. I mean, it could be just because everything that's gone on this season just finally caught up to them. The emotion of Hamlin and just, the injuries that they battled throughout the year.
Do you think
Perhaps
Hamlin being there, Joe, was a huge distraction?
I don't think it was a distraction at all. If anything, I would have thought it would have been a motivating presence. I definitely don't think it was a distraction. I don't think it mattered that way. But excuse me, I don't have answers. I mean, I saw this team, not just being a fan, but I saw this team, going all the way. And there was no doubt in my mind and pretty much everybody else's mind that was going to happen, in the city anyway. And as far as where we go from here, I kept telling people that I was watching the game with, I said, NFL windows close quickly. People here in Buffalo seem to have blinders on thinking that they're going to be a Super Bowl contender for the next 15 years. It's the NFL. Windows close very quickly. Their quarterback
Tell me about it.
all year is one shot to the head or one shot to the knee away from a season being ended and them being in dire straits. The windows close very quickly in the NFL, and there's no guarantee that this one stays open any longer. I said throughout the year, I've said it here, I've said it to other people, it's basically Super Bowl or bust. And again, it's not like they're exploding the team and it's going to be a completely different team. This year I was extremely confident going into it, Super Bowl. Going forward, I don't have that confidence for this team.
So sorry, I don't mean to cut in on
No, that's okay.
Adam here, but so whenever you talk about the fans, so like I assume last year they were kind of they probably weren't mad at the team necessarily, but they were mad about the rule mostly, right? The overtime rule.
Yes.
So this year you're saying there's like nothing really they're mad about, or like they're not really mad at the team for kind of getting embarrassed?
Not as much as I expected to see. I can't say I've listened to a whole bunch of sports radio and paid a ton of attention, but as far as the people closest to me that we've been talking football all year, I think people are upset with the lack of emotion that they saw, but not to the extent that I would have expected. I don't see anger. I don't see a lot of disappointment. It was just, okay, yeah, we lost again, and that's that. I will get them next year, but I'm not so sure about next year. So yeah,
do you feel like they're just used to like playoff losses? Like the Super Bowl, all 4 hangovers still, and they're like, we just didn't get it done. You think that is set in after 4 Super Bowl losses?
Yeah, I see that a little bit here. I guess coming from a different city and seeing that, this city does have, as far as sports concerned, a loser's mentality. A few years ago, the hockey team wasn't doing well, and they were purposely tanking to get some guy named Eichel. And we see how well that worked out. And just, I was totally against the whole thing because, again, we play sports to win. We play sports. That's why I love that whole Houston Texans thing that happened a couple of weeks ago. We play games to win. I mentioned that here. But this city didn't see it that way. And now, the hockey team is still awful. And I think you do have some of those leftovers from years ago with this team losing Super Bowls and, the whole stigma that, there's, the sports gods are against us. And, it does have that, a lack of, I don't want to call it a loser's mentality, but definitely not a winner's mentality. So I think a lot of those leftovers from previous years, recent years, and from those Super Bowl years, I think some of those leftovers still exist.
That's weird. It's like they haven't really won anything, so they don't know how really to react, I guess. And this is the best football they've seen in years, 20 years maybe.
You-
So
It's
you're
like
right.
anti-Cowboys football. Like they won so many, like they think that they're going to keep winning, whereas the Bills have lost so many that when they lose, whatever.
Yeah. And again, we think everybody's against us, I mean, just with the, when the Sabres were in the finals with the no goal thing where, the guy was in the crease and, there's just a lot of bad luck, Music City Miracles and wide rights and things like that, that, excuse me, that lingers here and people don't let go of that very quickly.
So what do you think the real issue was, if you had to narrow it down to a couple different things as to why they lost, other than they just got outplayed? Because obviously.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can pinpoint is just, I guess, everything caught up with them. The emotion again of Damar Hamlin. A lot of injuries that they had to overcome. Games being moved because of snow. Things like that. I mean, 2 major blizzards in the city. That again, that's their community. They're a part of that, and they had to deal with that. I think just, not to use that as an excuse. I mean, the number one thing I could say is they were completely outplayed by a great football team. But the only other reason I can see is just everything, finally coming to a head and just, I guess, they're human beings as well. And just with everything going on, I guess they'd had enough. That's the only thing I can think of.
Do you think the Bengals were just out to prove that they could have been the number 1 seed, should have been the number 1 seed?
I thought about that before the game. I think that was a motivating factor. I really believe the Bengals think that they would have won that Monday night game. I really believe they would have won that Monday night game. So I think they definitely were out to prove that, not only were they the better team with this matchup, but yes, that they could have been a number 1 seed as well.
I think there's a couple different things that I took from the Bills. One of them is kind of like an NFL-wide issue that I think fans are starting to or going to have to start to realize, and the other one's more specific to the Bills. First off, when you pay quarterbacks X amount of dollars on the big contract, right, what does that do? It hinders your team at other positions, right? Outside of Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that offense is below average. I mean, if you can shut down Stephon Diggs, the Bills are not going to move the football. That's just the reality. They don't have a good running game. Their O-line is not fantastic or good, in my opinion. Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, James Cook, and Devin Singletary are all replacement level players. I mean, none of them are going to consistently win you games. I think ultimately, if Josh Allen does not give these superhero efforts that he has, the Bills aren't going to win. And how many superhero efforts can Josh Allen have against good teams like the Bengals, the Chiefs? Eventually that's going to run out. Before this year, the Bills were constantly losing to the Chiefs because the Chiefs are a good team. And if Josh Allen doesn't play out of his mind, great, then it's just not going to happen. I think the Bills are a very flawed roster. And if you add into the fact that their secondary just couldn't stay on the field, which in turn hurt their run defense, you could definitely run the football on the Bills this year. I think that there were a lot of holes that were covered up by Herculean efforts from Josh Allen. And it's going to continue to stay that way because Josh Allen's massive contract extension starts this year. So the Bills, there's no coincidence between the fact that 3 of the 4 teams in the conference finals all have cheap quarterbacks. You can take away Patrick Mahomes because he's got the greatest offensive play caller in the NFL since Bill Walsh. That's who Andy Reid is. He just makes magic, right? So take away Patrick Mahomes. Burrow's on his rookie deal. Hurts is on a rookie deal. Brock Purdy is a 7th-round pick. Trey Lance is on the payroll, and so is Garoppolo. All of them, that they don't really get paid a lot. These are good stacked teams, and it's going to be a problem because the Eagles are paying Hurts. Cincinnati's paying Burrow. What's going to happen to Devontae Smith? What's going to happen to T. Higgins, right? These guys are going to be out the door. Your team has to take hits elsewhere when that happens. And I think that's already started with the Bills.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with everything you've said there. The number one thing that I saw in the local papers by the local sports writers was exactly what you just said about the one-dimensional offense and the over reliance on Josh Allen. And that's not just a secret here. I mean, if you hear talk around the league, I mean, everybody's saying the same thing. But that's the number one area, of focus. But again, it's easier said than done just because of the cap implications and salary implications that they have. So, it's not an easy fix, even though, again, we know that's the case. They're going to have to be creative in trying to figure out ways to fix that. Do you focus on the draft? Do you, which was what they were saying they should do. But again, that takes time, and, free agents maybe, but again, you're kind of limited as to what you can do. So,
do they have a lot of salary cap, Joe, or don't you have any?
No, I don't. Excuse me. I think it is kind of limited, between Allen, Diggs, some defensive players and things. I don't think they do have a lot of cap space. I don't know exact numbers, unfortunately, but I don't think they have a lot of room to maneuver there. But yeah, so I'd like to come up with something to go against your argument there, and add some, interesting conversation to this. But I agree with everything you said. I think it's spot on.
Melissa?
I have many, many, many questions.
Okay.
Starting with, I don't take national media mostly seriously because I just think they're a bunch of blowhards owned by certain owners. But there was one point that was mentioned this week that kind of piqued my interest. Do you think that Mike Kafka and not Mike Kafka, sorry, that's the Giants, Ken Dorsey, and what he did during the Miami game when you guys first lost your undefeated streak, and the way he destroyed the entire press box where he was calling the game from, do you think that kind of mentality going from Brian Dable, who seems to be like a really buttoned-up guy who got guys seriously and playing beyond their level, and then moving on to someone who's so anti-Brian Dable, kind of screwed with the mentality and work ethic of your offense? Because I think...
Go ahead.
Okay, because I think that you guys really show up against really bad teams, and then as soon as things don't go perfectly, or they don't go like, oh, everyone was anointing Josh Allen as the MVP and the surefire like Super Bowl winner, things started going screwy. Stephon Diggs more than ever is kind of like lashing out this year. He got really, really upset when you guys finally started trying to like use your running backs and get a running game. It feels like Sean McDermott is never going to be the bad guy. He's never going to be the guy that keeps things level. He's never going to haul guys out. He's never going to let the stars be checked. He's going to just like sit back and just roll with whatever happens with his team. He doesn't have that like fiery competitive kind of spirit.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I could start by saying that thing with Dorsey and his temper tantrum was easily the funniest thing I saw on television during the entire football season. Maybe any football season. I mean, every time I see it, I die laughing. Whether that took away, I just simply think he's not as good of offensive coordinator as Brian Dable. And perhaps, the level of respect, especially from some of the superstars, maybe wasn't there. With him, I don't know, not even because of that tantrum, but just because of the lack of knowledge, I guess, compared to Dable. And Dable had that respect, commanded that respect, and there's a big difference in ability there. So did the tantrum have a negative effect? I really don't think so. But again, did his just lack of the ability to come up with creative play calls and questionable calls, at times where they needed him more, I think that's what eventually cost them some respect in the room.
All right.
Batman
My
has
next
joined us,
question.
guys. What's up, Jay?
What's up, Jason?
How you
Hey
doing?
guys, how you
Hi,
doing?
Jason.
Good to see you.
Okay, so my next question is: do you think that you
We're on
guys
the
need
Bills.
to
Jason
change?
comes in and Ryan leaves.
Do you
We might
need to
want to
change
get
in
more
your
water.
overall?
Douche.
Do you need to change in your overall coaching style? Because it seems like you guys don't adjust well, and it feels like McDermott,
What?
for a defensive mind, he cannot get something to go with your defense. Like, I know you guys had serious injuries to Jordan Phillips and Matt Milano and Jordan Poyer, and Elam was hurt for a while, and Tre'Davious White got hurt, and Micah Hyde got hurt, and Von Miller got hurt. But it feels like if your head coach is supposed to be stronger towards one side of the ball, it shouldn't be so lacking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because I thought about that after this, after the loss. I said, on one side, you got a guy who's like the steadying influence, and he's done such a great job with this team, as far as bringing them together, as far as dealing with egos, as far as, making it a family atmosphere and, helping them through some really difficult moments. But at the same time, you know, things, with this level of talent should be better, and the results should be better at this point, and I question the drive, the fire, the ability to take this team to another level. So it's a tough question to answer because again, he's done so many good things, but do those good things outweigh what they need at this point? So I guess I wouldn't mind seeing the guy stick around a little bit longer, but if they decided to make a change, I don't think I'd be, the most upset guy in the city, to be honest with you. I think maybe they would need a fresh voice to try to, take things in a different direction. So I did think about that immediately after, and it's like I said, you got both sides of the coin there, But to me, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing if we moved on from him. I'm not saying it should happen, but it wouldn't be the end of the world, in my opinion.
Okay.
It'd be
And
the end of the
then
world in Pittsburgh.
and then my other question was, do you just like overhaul your defense? Because you guys have a lot of age on that defense and a lot of injury players on that defense, and they're very expensive injury players. I mean, you can't move on from Von Miller, but the Micah Hydes, the Tre'Davious Whites, the Tremaine Evanses, do you like kind of start moving on from some of those like older, like beaten down players, or
Yeah, they're going to have to make some tough decisions about that, and I think you're going to have to.
I can answer a couple of those questions. So the Bills are 19 million in cap debt already, and cutting Tre'Davious White's not going to help, or trading him. It'd be a cap hit regardless. But Hyde saves $3.5 million. I'm looking at some of these contracts, and it's not great. It's not great. There's going to be some money moved around, some salary converted to bonus. They're going to have to work their way out of what they've got in them first before we can start talking about moving on players.
Yeah, Milano just got a big pay raise a couple of years ago.
Raheem Hines is going to get cut because he's a $4.5 million save.
Right. Yeah, I don't see Hyde coming back. I don't see, somebody like Hines. You said, yeah, they're going to have to make some tough decisions, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of an overhaul. They're going to have to get creative, and I trust, the people in charge to be able to do that. But again, easier said than done, just because of the lack of flexibility that they have.
Okay. And then I had to ask you, how much of it do you think you guys were already looking forward to the championship game and the Kansas City Chiefs and that whole neutral site thing? Because to me, it felt like you guys didn't take the Bengals seriously. Like you kind of like dodged a bullet. You didn't have to remake up the last game. You didn't have to play in Cincinnati. Like they made all the rules benefit the Bills and the Chiefs by putting you guys at 1 and 2 respectively. It felt like Dawson Knox was the only guy who really showed up on either side of the ball throughout the entire game, to me, at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the back of their minds. Again, that they were entitled to be in that championship game and they didn't have to really work to get there. I was saying after the Dolphins game that I really thought that would be the motivating factor. The Bills were lucky to beat the Dolphins, and I thought that instead of not showing up for this game, I thought that would be a motivating factor. And
I thought you were
and
gonna
I expected
destroy
the
'em.
Bills to win this game by a touchdown. To be honest with you, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the back of their minds. Let's get ready for Atlanta and get past this game, and perhaps they weren't as prepared as they should have been. I mean, they weren't prepared as well as they should have been, but perhaps that was a reason that maybe in the back of their mind they were looking past it a little bit.
Jason,
And,
any questions about this game?
I don't. Well, I guess the only question I have is something Melissa just brought up a few minutes ago. Pardon my voice, guys. I was screaming at a bunch of angry ass drivers who were pissing me off on the way home.
Yes, road rage in California,
I know the
Jason.
feeling.
No way.
Yeah,
Didn't think
right.
That shit happened. Jeez.
Tell you, man. So yeah. Anyway, Melissa I think it was Melissa who alluded to the fact earlier that Sean McDermott and his coaching staff didn't do a very good job of making adjustments throughout the entire game.
Mhm.
And that would be my number one question. And especially with McDermott, for a guy who's known for being very solid and sound with the X's and O's, I was kind of wondering too why they kind of went out with I felt kind of the same game plan, same approach in the second half that they did in the first half. I don't know what they were kind of expecting. I don't know if they were expecting that defense to make a lot more takeaways, a lot more turnovers. But I was really kind of shocked, too, that there just weren't more in-game adjustments there done by Sean McDermott. And I remember several weeks ago, it was right after that Miami game, predicting where this was the exact kind of problem we were going to see with Buffalo, with Josh Allen and his inability to protect the football and his inability to finish off drives. You might be able to win that kind of game against Miami, against I'm not going to say Jacksonville because they made the postseason, so did Miami. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can win those types of games against sub-500 teams.
Mhm.
But when you get into the postseason, it's going to come back and nip you in the bud. And it definitely did with Josh Allen. I kind of felt Buffalo should have run the ball a little bit more than what they didn't. But I'm not surprised they didn't because, again, this is a copycat league. It's full of one-dimensional offenses. And, again, just where were the adjustments? Sean McDermott is a solid X's and O's guy. Where were the adjustments? I didn't see them. You guys might disagree with me, but I didn't see them.
No, I actually agree with you because this has been a criticism of McDermott in other games too. That there was no adjustment. That what did we learn from previous situations or previous games with the same types of situations? And it seems like they're not moving on from those. So not just this game, which I agree with you. I mean, he didn't make the necessary adjustments, but that's been an ongoing issue, which again, sometimes I question, are they in a good spot with him? The whole thing with this game was, the Bengals banged up offensive line. Joe Burrow is going to be running for his life this entire game. And that's one of the reasons that the Bills were favored to win it, by so much, by 6 points or whatever it was, is the fact that he wasn't going to be able to function and do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
But it was Josh Allen who was running for his life the whole game. And I can't remember a period of time where Burrow was being rushed and he was passing and doing what he could and what he wanted to do at will.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
As far as the adjustments, not just this game, that's been a criticism of the Bills coaching staff, for a while.
Joe, I'm going to be a little bit critical about something here, and that is in regards to Josh Allen. Look, I love him.
Mhm.
I love him. He's a good football player. He's from my neck of the woods, sort of in Kingsburg, California, or Fireball, I'm sorry. But which is just right up the road from Fresno. But I read a report shortly after that game where I guess the elbow was bothering Josh Allen again from that injury he sustained, I think, back in week 4 or week 5. I don't remember what week it was.
Mhm.
But I kind of felt like that to me was a cop-out because my feeling is if the Buffalo Bills organization and Josh Allen were really that concerned about his elbow, they would have shut him down a long time ago. They would have shut him down a lot longer than 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. My point is that Allen didn't play bad, but I felt that reading that report kind of felt like an excuse was made for Josh Allen not being able to get his team over the hump. And it's like, I'm sorry, that elbow was good enough for you to play throughout the rest of the season. throughout the duration of the postseason. You were obviously well enough to go out there and throw the football, regardless of how bad your mechanics were. Don't make excuses for the guy. And you know what? Allen got up there and owned it, to his credit. He got up on the podium and he said, look, we stunk. All right, we had to do it. It hurt. We didn't do it. So to his credit, he didn't make excuses. But I kind of feel like some people are making excuses for him. Sorry, that doesn't fly, especially in the postseason.
No, that doesn't fly with me either. I hadn't heard that information actually. But no, that to me, it can't be used as an excuse anyway. If your elbow's hurting, then you know what? Run the ball a little bit more. Or,
Exactly.
have Josh Allen have some design plays with him. It's playoffs, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there's injury risk, yes, but this is not week 6 of the regular season where you got the whole season to get
wasn't
through.
that the week where they ran it like crazy because his elbow was all messed up?
Yeah, they ran it like 35 or 40 times, I think.
Yeah.
Successfully.
But,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
you have no right to use that as an excuse, anybody that might have said that. It's just that, like I said, you got your butts kicked and there's no other way around it.
Pen, you got any questions on this game for Joe?
Are you are you happy with the coaching staff that you have? Because of all the coaches that get fired, you guys can make playoffs, but you can make it so far. And then you normally, not the Cowboys or not the Steelers, obviously, but normally at a team, if they don't make it at a certain point for so many certain years, the coaches are gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I are they great coaches? Yes, but I thought about it as great as they've been and a steadying influence again this year that they've been for this team. When does that time come where you think maybe it's time to make a change? You know, do you give it another year?
Okay with a new face coming in and maybe a new voice?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying it should happen, but it wouldn't be the end of the world for me if it did.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to the high ankle sprain game.
High ankle sprain game.
Which most people won't even be able to walk on that thing or try to play on that. But when you're Patrick Mahomes, I guess you're like Superman out there.
And you have that steroid.
And I don't have any Chiefs fans or Jaguar fans on this one, so don't be afraid to
Can I
fire
make
away
one
on
last?
this one.
Can I
There
make
we
one
go.
last comment about the Bills game real quick? And it's not even
Go
to
ahead.
do about the Bills or the Cincinnati Bengals themselves, aside from one Bengal.
I never want to talk about them again. Go ahead.
Eli Apple should never be allowed to have a Twitter account or to talk again, because what
This is
he
good
did
for us,
this
Melissa.
past week, what he did this week was appalling. To say Cancun on 3, and then he did the little like love emoji thing to like mock DeMar Hamlin and what the Bills have gone through, I think is one of the most disgusting things I've seen him do. And he had some really bad moments when he was a Giant. And as much as I would love to see the Cincinnati Bengals make the Super Bowl again, at the same time, I have so much true disgust in my heart for Eli Apple. I almost want them to lose to Patrick Mahomes and his bum ankle.
Yeah, I think anybody here would have just looked right past that. You know, it's that's a very unsportsmanlike, and you know, hopefully there wasn't, you know, a horrible intention behind that. But yeah, it's distasteful. But I think just, you know, the people would have looked right past that here. That's what I did anyway.
No. I agree with you. I would have looked past it if it weren't for his 2 other tweets. But that one in particular pissed me off. It's like all the Philly fans I've seen today use DeMar Hamlin like as a verb. Like, we're gonna DeMar Hamlin you. It's like it's really gotten to a disgusting point with certain people, and that's why I wanted to bring attention to it before I forgot.
Yeah. No, I mean, that stuff, obviously, there's no room for any of that, you know. And
Melissa, we got Niner fans in the house right now.
Hi, throwback.
But this is good that Eli Apple's back on Twitter talking shit, because he did this same exact stuff in the divisional and conference round last year, and then I watched him get cooked twice by Cooper Kupp in the Super Bowl. So let him. let them keep talking shit. I want to see AJ Brown cook them for 2 touchdowns too. So
Can
Keep
I say
talking
one
shit.
thing about DeMar? Adam, is it okay to say something about DeMar?
Yeah, go ahead.
DeMar Hamlin's freaking alive. Do not listen to any trolls out there. If you have a medical issue, you have 2 or 3 heart attacks or a stroke, your face is going to change. When you have medical issues, you're going to listen to doctors. The reason he has a mask is because his oxygen is not fully capable of breathing on his own. Buffalo is a very cold place. It's not going to be where it's only been 3-4 weeks. Leave the man alone. Stop the trolls.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the
If you
people with
guys,
all bunch
it's
of
all over
conspiracy
Yahoo
theories and
Sports.
shit are weird, dude.
I know. It's all over Yahoo Sports. I don't know if you guys
All over.
saw that today or not. It's been all over everything. You
Mm-mm.
go to any sports page, and they're saying he's double bodied and all that. I'm like, you can't be double bodied.
So, Joe, real quickly, that article that I referenced about Josh Allen's elbow injury earlier, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure I read it in Bleacher Report somewhere. Don't take
Okay.
that as the holy grail, but I'm pretty sure it was on Bleacher Report where I read it.
All right.
Bleacher, I hardly even know her.
I'll have to I'll have to take a look.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jason.
Jesus.
That's okay. It's all good.
So,
This
does
is one
anyone
more-
have any thoughts on the Chiefs game?
Oh, boy.
Who did they play?
Jacksonville.
Went exactly the way I
Oh, yeah.
thought it would go. I
Yeah.
thought Jacksonville would keep it a little close. Didn't think they'd actually pull out a victory, and I wasn't too surprised, to be honest with you.
And Trevor
They should
Lawrence didn't
have
have
the
his
victory.
Snickers bar at halftime to get his that extra jolt.
Yeah, I mean, one of these teams is very experienced in going deep in the playoffs. The other one just had to deal with Urban Meyer last year. So, I mean, the fact that the Jags got that far, is very impressive. And as a young team, they will continue to get better, especially under Doug Peterson. But ultimately, the master bested the student because the master squad has been there time and time and time again.
Right.
That's
You
right.
can have one. You have one good comeback. It's hard to have 2 comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Both former Eagle coaches were going at that one, huh?
Well,
Yep.
and Peterson played quarterback for Andy Reid and coached under him.
Oh.
Yep.
So
And Doug
some-
Peterson was also an offensive assistant at Green Bay under
Holmgren.
he was under Mike Holmgren. That's right.
I did not. I wasn't aware we were going to play 6 degrees of Doug Peterson.
Yeah, right.
Doug Peterson did win a Super Bowl before Andy Reid, though.
Yes, he did.
True.
Yep.
Logan, what were your thoughts on this game? You've been quiet over there.
Did you not hear my Bleacher, I hardly even know her remark? I mean, good Lord, that was gold right there. It was whatever. I thought whenever I heard that Patrick Mahomes got injured and he was going to be hobbling through the game, I was like, okay, so this is going to be something that the Jaguars can make it interesting and come back and make it close. And if the Chiefs lose, then they can always blame Patrick Mahomes' leg for giving out. And they would have said, oh, the Jaguars only won because Patty Mahomes, was injured. And then Patty Mahomes came back. And, I mean, that was pretty impressive, I think. I've had a high strain on my ankle before, and that was – I couldn't walk, and I cried a little bit. I had to change my pants, and I couldn't walk for a week. And so he comes out and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna run on it for another 2 hours." So I was like, "Damn!" So that's just cool. I think it definitely has to scare the shit out of. Who are they playing next week?
Cincinnati.
Bengals.
Bengals. Yeah, it has to scare the Bengals a little bit. I know football.
I just didn't like how he had to go out and he was acting like a little baby, and then he came back again. They forced him out to get that shot But he's like, all right, fine. And then he goes back in the locker room, but he seemed like he was throwing a little temper tantrum.
I mean, I'm sure he was frustrated. It's a big game, big moment. But, I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah,
walked.
but it's like, dude, just get your shot and then come back in.
I think it's impressive that they walked 98 yards down the field with Chad Henne.
I thought so too. You haven't heard anything since he left Miami.
Like, the last time I heard Chad Henne's name was when he took over for Patrick Mahomes. What was that, 2 years ago when he had a similar high ankle sprain in a playoff game? It was the AFC Championship game, I think.
Wish I paid more attention to the Chiefs. All I can think of whenever I see Chiefs, just think of chefs in the end zone.
Oh,
I just
one of
remember
the
him
best
as a Miami
commercials ever.
Dolphin. That's it.
Great googly boogly.
Melissa, any thoughts on this game?
Any questions?
Um,
We'll do our best.
I had to.
There's no Chiefs
I'm
or
not-
Jaguar fans in this game.
I'm not shocked by this game, quite honestly.
Logan, be
I
nice.
feel like Patrick Mahomes is like the new Aaron Rodgers. That he just even if it's for the betterment of himself or his team, he doesn't care. He just wants to be the guy, and he'll play no matter what. And I mean, they got away with it, but I
Are
don't
you
know if they're going to
comparing
get
him
away
to
with
Aaron
it versus the
Rodgers in a
Bengals.
positive or negative way?
Negative way. I was
Well, there
I was
goes
talking
Patrick
about it with
Mahomes'
like
family.
I was like comparing it to like when they were like 3-8 or whatever, and he had the thumb injury, and like Aaron's like, no, I'm gonna play the rest of the way because we're not mathematically eliminated yet. And it felt like Patrick Mahomes kind of had that same kind of vibe to him this weekend, where he's like, oh, everything's about me. Patrick Mahomes. Nobody else is allowed to play for this team, even if they were to win. It doesn't matter because it's not me. That's my main takeaway from this game. I'm not surprised that the Jaguars lost.
This was Trevor Lawrence's first loss on a Saturday since his sophomore year of high school. He was 41-0 going into the game.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Which is shocking because I know everything about
I knew
the
you were going to
NFL.
say some smart ass shit.
Did anyone see the? Did anyone see that the stone with that they put the hair on and made it look like?
Oh yeah, Stonehenge,
Trevor
where they
Law-
put the hair.
Yeah.
Or the
I,
Easter
uh,
Island head. The Easter Island head. That's what it is.
I didn't
Yeah,
see
that
that one, but
was-
I saw a Facebook meme that really cracked me up the other day, where it showed Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes sitting in a Waffle House, and Trevor Lawrence was right next to them, flipping over chairs on top of tables in the Waffle House. I thought that was pretty funny.
I thought the best meme was it had the people waiting in line for their refunds from the game in Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was a good one too.
Oh, Adam.
Oh shit. Anyway, I mean, I expected the Chiefs to win. If Mahomes doesn't get hurt, I think wouldn't be a blowout.
I mean, he only missed one drive and they scored a touchdown, so I don't know how much different the game actually would have been.
I mean, some of those throws looked awful. I mean, you could tell he was hobbling everywhere. So, I mean, a healthy Mahomes, it might have been more. I mean, the Jags almost won it, didn't they? Fumbled?
Yep.
Wasn't it Agnew who fumbled?
Yeah, it was Agnew.
I was at work, so I did not catch this game. Ding. All right, we good? We ready to move on to the next game?
Wait, I want to spend another 20 minutes talking about Patrick Mahomes being Aaron Rodgers. I can't let that go, Melissa. I don't know why. I have no dog in this fight. I actually give zero shits. Right when I said it, I was like, I don't
Actually,
care
let
that
me
much.
ask you guys this, because I pulled this on Twitter. What's more annoying, the way Chris Collinsworth talks about Patrick Mahomes or the way Tony Romo talks about Josh Allen?
Collinsworth. Hands down, bar none.
Collinsworth's more annoying.
Collinsworth. Give the guy some lipstick because he was kissing Mahomes' ass so much in that game. It's like, I'm surprised his lips aren't chapped. Collinsworth, without a doubt, hands down.
I gotta be good.
Whoever
That's
plays
good. I'm
Sunday
not
night, that's what he
going
does.
for it.
Tony
Like, every
Romo's
time-
going.
every- Every Sunday night when there's a good quarterback playing, I hate watching football on NBC Sports.
I'll do you guys one better. John Madden on Brett Favre.
Oh,
Actually, John Madden in general. I hated him.
I like John Madden.
Hey, you
I
can't
like
beat
football.
John Madden.
I like John Madden.
I
John
hate
Madden's
whoever I
awesome.
want to.
But
John Madden
Yeah,
was
yeah.
such a people
I think he'll
person
learn a
behind the
lot from him
scenes.
when he was drawing on the board.
Romo's going back to his Cowboy days for this playoff series here because he's just been atrocious the whole playoff, like divisional round, wild card. He's been terrible.
Yeah.
He knows it's playoffs. That's why.
I'll take Tony Romo over Phil Simms any day of the week, though. Like,
Dude,
Phil
Greg
Simms.
Olson is showing out as an announcer, dude. That guy is fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had
Olsen's
a,
done a good job.
Gronkowski's looking for Tom Brady. Gronkowski's looking for Tom Brady at Fox Studio.
did I read Gronk got the phone call to come back and play for the Bucks last weekend?
No, he tried to call the Bucks about a month ago, and they said no, we're good.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other way around.
At the half, I got
He called the
12
Bucks?
Oh, Tom Brady's coming?
Well, they're going to
All
play
right.
in Las Vegas next year, so
That
Any
can't-
more
that can't-
on this lovely game?
No.
Wait, which one?
No-
Let's
Oh.
go.
For
Ah,
fuck's sake.
Woo! Get your popcorn ready, Ryan.
dude, honestly, I wish I could tell you this is how I predicted the game, but based on the way the Giants were playing coming down the stretch, I did not see this game going like this at all. But
No, the Eagles came out and played
that was
this
a
game.
joke.
You take it. I
Um,
expected a closer game as well. To be honest, again, you don't beat a team 3 times in an NFL season. It hardly ever happens.
Yeah.
I expected the Eagles to win this game, but I thought it would be within a touchdown.
It happened
actually,
twice
funny
it
you
happened
say that.
twice
It
this
happens
year.
a lot more than you think. So teams that are going for the sweep 3-0 that year are 16-9 against the teams that are down 0-2.
All right.
But
yeah,
Giants-
so-
surprising.
The
I
Giants
mean,
streak
it
just
doesn't
got
happen
snapped.
often. That's why nobody like the positioning doesn't happen that often. That's why everybody thinks that. But and this is the first year where it's happened twice.
Wow.
Ryan, real quick, weren't you guys like 64-7 in the first half versus the Giants in all 3 games?
68-7.
Just saying. That was like a major thing I thought was going to happen because Saquon and Daniel Jones, as good as they've been this year, they always have that other shoe that has to drop. It always happens with the two of them. And as good as Tibbs has been and Leonard Williams has been and Dexter Lawrence has been in the middle of their defensive line. They don't really have good linebackers, and Dory Jackson's just come back off of injury. Xavier McKinney has just come back off injury. I thought this was going to be a bloodbath. I mean, I hoped it would be a little closer, but I'm not surprised that you guys just like steamrolled them.
I stopped watching at halftime. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I
forget
mean,
this.
they've been playing well down the stretch. I mean, the Giants are a really well coached team. There's no real talent on the offense or really the defense, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you can look at Saquon's film, and he is definitely not the same running back that he was early in his career, and he's never going to be at this point. But outside of him, they really don't have any threats on the outside. So the fact that the Giants were as good offensively as they were, and Daniel Jones has had some of his best career games against the Eagles. Like, I hate playing against that guy because it scares me. All I think about, though, is that 80-yard touchdown run he gave up by tripping over himself a couple of years ago. So,
I remember that.
but
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
familiar.
yeah, no, the Giants, like Daniel Jones worries me a little bit. So I'm a little interested to see what they do with the offseason coming. I do imagine he re-signs in New York, and I imagine that they go and get a certain wide receiver on the trade block from Arizona. But that's That's my prediction.
Tom
Jason.
Brady to the Giants next year, confirmed.
Dude, that would be insane.
It would be awesome, right? Like,
Aaron
oh my gosh, it
Rodgers
would look
to the
so good
Colts,
in that
man.
blues, in that blue Giants color. I don't know.
But yeah, and
Well,
considering the Eagles limped into the postseason too, I was slightly concerned, but they limped into the postseason in 2017 too, and we know how that turned out.
If Tom
Jason.
Brady's going to the Giants, then Aaron Rodgers is going to Indy.
No, he's going to he won't go to the 49ers
Well, no,
because
they're
they already
they're
have
good.
Purdy.
Yeah,
They
they're
don't
good.
need anybody else anymore. Purdy is the greatest football player of all fucking time.
And then Carson Wentz going
I
to
mean-
the Dallas Cowboys.
By a
Hey.
win-loss record, you're not really wrong there.
Hey,
Jason, I know you want to say something.
Yeah, just two things really quickly. First and foremost, yeah, Daniel Jones is at the end of that 5-year rookie contract. If he was playing for a massive contract extension last weekend, he sure as hell didn't earn it. Granted, and the Eagles are a hell of a football team, but as good as Daniel Jones has played this season, he upped his game a little bit. Yeah, I don't think he did much to attract the attention of other coaches and other GMs out there that might want to sign him if the New York Giants do in fact decide not to retain his services. But
they say
being
they
that
were
what it
gonna-
is,
Didn't they say
I'm
they were
sorry.
keeping Daniel Jones?
No. What I'm suggesting is if the Giants keep Daniel Jones, it's definitely not going to be for the big long-term money that he wants. And also I just want to say that not that I was a Jalen Hurts doubter, Ryan, all season, but what I saw from Jalen Hurts last weekend, MVP material. The guy, I'm sold on the guy. I think he has the athletic talent. Well, let me just say this. I've heard a lot of Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson comparisons as to who's the better quarterback. Jalen Hurts, by far, bar none, better than Lamar Jackson right now. And the Eagles, I could have swore that I saw Nick Sirianni, their head coach, grin at least 5 or 6 times throughout the duration of that game because that ass whooping they gave the Giants. Brian Dable and his guys got outcoached. They got outplayed. And the Eagles deserve to win that game big time. But, yeah, Jalen Hurts, I bought into him. If he gets an MVP vote, he's got it from me.
And
I said
Probably-
a couple weeks ago on Ryan's
$44 million too.
I said a couple weeks ago on Ryan's podcast when Hurts was injured, like those 2 weeks, those 2 games, not Phillies, like, son of a bitch.
Wrong
The
sport.
Eagles are like
Yadier Molina.
son of a whore. Anyways,
Sound it out.
hold on. This was the only smart thing I ever had to say. And then, they lost those games. They were just completely lost without Jalen Hurts. And I said, if this doesn't solidify that he's the MVP,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what does. I mean, he's been really good. And he played with a broken collarbone last week. And obviously he was like, he injected a shit ton of painkillers, which, I mean, jealous much. Like, I would love to be a quarterback just for that reason. But I mean, yeah, he's greatness. I mean, he has, and I remember at the beginning of the season, everyone was like, "Oh, we don't know if Jalen Hurts can handle this football team," and he's proved us wrong.
I remember
Yeah,
when
he
I
proved-
did a show with Ryan in the
proved me
beginning of the
wrong.
year. I said Jalen Hurts was probably going to be the MVP this year.
I was one of those doubters, and it wasn't like I didn't think that. Well, first off, I think Jalen Hurts has made probably the greatest year 2 to year 3 jump out of any quarterback that I have ever seen in my lifetime. I think he surpassed the Josh Allen year 2 to year 3 jump at this point. But I was a doubter altogether. I was really questioning whether this guy could throw the football down the field all offseason last year. I was like, it just from game 1 last year to the slaughtering we got from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everything looked exactly the same. There was no sort of improvement from Jalen Hurts whatsoever. And then I don't know what he did this offseason, but there was a ton of improvement this year. So getting a number 1 receiver helps. So, well, a 1A really. Devontae Smith has made some great strides this year too. So
Yeah.
I like Devontae Smith. He's really came alive like week 5, week 6.
well, it's going to suck when he's playing for somebody else 3 years from now.
Cowboys.
God, I hope not.
Buffalo Bills.
Maybe.
Let's
We
be
would take-
realistic here.
Can I say
No, I'm
something?
kidding.
I mean, if he has 2 or 3 more years like he did this year after his 5th-year option and paying Jalen Hurts $45 million a year, they ain't gonna be able to afford him.
Mhm.
I think getting rid of Tooney would hurts the Giants too.
Would you say, Pens?
I think getting rid of Tooney hurts the Giants also.
I don't think Tony was going to do anything with New York. Like he
Don't think-
seemed like he didn't want to be there.
As soon as he went to Kansas City, I don't know, I've seen a different side of him.
They should have gotten
He
rid
never-
of,
He
Jason
never
Garrett
had a
really played.
touchdown his entire time as a Giant.
And he had 2 with the
Like-
Chiefs, I believe, right?
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's what I mean. As soon as he went to Kansas City, everything just
Well, this
Flip
dude's
switch.
hamstrings are made out of string cheese too. Like he's
Yeah.
always hurt with some sort of hamstring issue. Like, dude, what is going on, man? Like he played 1 game in KC and then his hamstrings were hurt again. It's like, dude, what is going on with this guy?
right.
Is he playing this weekend? Does anyone know?
He should. I mean, he hasn't had a snap share over 40% since he joined Kansas City. So I mean, he might, but it sounds like they're just really, really limiting his time on the field.
Melissa, thoughts? I know you're up there looking stuff over.
I think it's sad when Matt Breida, of all people, has the only touchdown for the Giants. I think it's sad that just when Isaiah Hodgins was kind of like getting a name for himself and getting a little respect around the league, the Philly defense had no trouble like double teaming him and shutting him down. As for Kadarius Toney, my father is a diehard Giants fan, and I've had to deal with all his mood swings all over the year. He's like one of those players that it feels like they come to the league and they love going to New York just because they're living near New York, so that way they can get like the big salary of being in the NFL and they can get famous and they can start doing all the like rapping and other kind of stuff that these kids want to be able to do with that kind of fame. But he doesn't have the heart for a football player. He doesn't have that grit. He doesn't want to push through. He doesn't want to be dominant. And I honestly think the Giants kind of dodged a bullet getting rid of him so quickly.
Wait, are you sure you're not talking about Odell Beckham Jr. here, Melissa?
Well, he's going to sign with the
You know what?
Cowboys and help them make a deep playoff run.
You guys can hate on Beckham all you want, but you cannot
It's Tim Ryan.
ever call into question the drive and heart that he brought to those freaking Giants games, because he called out Eli Manning, he called out the front office, he brought everything, and when he was playing for under $1 million and he was already hurt in preseason, he still came back, got hurt a second time, and gave it his all. So there's some like weird stuff with Beckham that I have issues with, but I will never call into question his actual willingness to be a football player.
Speaking of willing to play football, good on Lane Johnson. Thankfully, he's holding off surgery, but man, he looks hurt every goddamn time he blocks somebody.
I thought the
Eddie
streak
Jones.
was going to continue.
I don't know how his snap streak's still going. I mean, he's over 600 snaps in 30 games without allowing a sack, so good on him.
Ryan, what's the contractual status of tight end Dallas Goedert? I was really impressed with, especially that one catch that he made for the first touchdown grab. Is he under contract for another 2 years or 3 years?
I think it's 2 years. I can search
2
that
years?
real quick for you, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 years. I think he got a 3-year deal after
Okay.
Zach
Yeah,
Ertz
'cause
left.
I've been really impressed with his progression over the last couple of years, and now I'm not an Eagles fan, so I wouldn't know. So please be kind in your criticism of me. But I think he actually fits in better offensively with what they do than what Zach Ertz might have done if he was still on the Eagles.
See, that's funny that you say that because Eagles fans would agree with you. So we had a nickname for Zach Ertz that was No Yak Zach because the wind of a butterfly's like wing flap could knock this guy over after he caught the ball. I mean, he was as sure-handed as a tight end's ever going to be. But I think his longest yards after catch was the touchdown he scored in the Super Bowl. And honestly, it was only like 10 yards. But
He
he was
flopped
just
that.
sure-handed, great route runner, absolutely
Yep.
zero explosiveness with the ball in his hands, though. Dallas Goedert's so much better after the catch.
Brian, he even flopped after that catch too.
I
Yep.
mean, yeah, he had to dive over a defender, so really he didn't even
Yeah.
run for half of the time. He
Yeah.
ran 5 yards and said, shit.
Yeah, I think he belly flopped.
But yeah, Dallas Goedert is just much more explosive. And I think that there are better tight ends than Goddard at it, but I mean, compared to Ertz, it's night and day.
Well, Goddard is to the Eagles what George Kittle is to the 49ers.
That's
In
one
my
of the
opinion.
tight ends I think is better than Dallas Goedert with the ball in his hands. So that's
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Alyssa? I gave you 4
No,
bucks.
no,
Ah,
no,
you
no,
like the
no,
fire.
no. That's too far.
No, it's not.
Way
No,
too
it's
freaking
not.
far.
I'm not comparing
There's
Dallas
the
Goddard to
connection.
George Kittle. I said he's
They're
like
saying they mean the
George
same
Kittle.
to their teams. He's
Yep.
saying they mean the same amount to their team.
I think Dallas is better than Kittle. Gosh, Kittle can suck it.
Everybody
No,
relax.
No, 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 no.
I have no idea who those players
Everybody
are.
just
I mean, I know who
take it
Kittle is, but I don't know who that Dallas guy is.
Let's simmer down. All right.
Yeah,
Simmer
relax.
down now, kids.
Jason,
Yep.
I'll have you know, it takes a lot more than this to simmer me down.
Oh, I know, Logan. I know.
Harrison Bader.
Yadi Ermelina.
He's no longer my problem. I can't shit on Yadier Molina anymore.
Adam Wainwright.
Okay, Adam Wainwright can suck it.
All right. Back on task.
Yeah, so I think Goddard's a real solid tight end. I think he's definitely top 5 in the NFL in terms of all around tight end ability.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, he's definitely gonna be a top 5, top 10 tight end next year in fantasy football for sure.
Yep.
My personal opinion. All right. Any more thoughts on this game, Ryan? Anyone? Any more thoughts? Questions for Mr. Ryan?
I think you
The
need to
best
stop
two
being
teams
so
in the
abusive to
NFC
your
are playing in
desk.
the conference championship game.
Yep.
We didn't get there yet. We
Yeah.
didn't cover the other game yet.
I'm going to say that, and I'm going to take this opportunity to head out. I got to go, but I will say
Bye, Joe.
congrats to the 49ers fans there.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait. I'm hoping for a classic game between those two teams this weekend. So can't wait to see what you have to say about it here. You know,
42-21, Niners beat the Eagles. And then out. No offense, Ryan, but the Eagles will be down and eliminated.
What?
we shall see.
No. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead because I've been
I'm
holding
not
my
real
tongue
sure,
for an
Jason.
hour and a half. The 49ers should not have won that game.
All right, I'm
Sorry.
going to head out, guys. That was
See you, Joe.
Joe's like, all right,
Nice seeing you again. Before you
Welcome
go,
back,
how
Joe.
people get you?
Joe Dell Sports on Twitter. That's where I am.
And I will send you a message for next week. You'll be here, right?
All right, perfect. Yes, if I'm invited, I will be here.
You know you are.
All right, cool.
It's gonna be
Look forward to
awkward.
it.
All
He's
right,
not
Joe. We'll
invited.
get better, man. Drink some more Gatorade.
All right, will do. We'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.
Bye,
All
Joe.
righty.
All right,
Take it easy, Joe.
you too.
All right. Well, let's
All right, go into the
we'll
deep
move on to
Logan
the
rant.
last game.
Nice.
Bro, that
One of the
play was
dumbest
embarrassing.
They spent 10 minutes on this play only to get totally crapped on and like only make 7 yards and that stupid. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I'm kind
here?
of curious to see what that play call was actually supposed to develop into. I imagine it's like some schoolyard lateral bullshit, but I just want to know, like,
They
what
just
it had to
insist on
be.
having the dumbest ever play to end a game. They're like, oh, this game wasn't
just-
embarrassing enough.
Like
Let's
they
just
should have
make the
ran a
dumbest
quick
play ever."
screen out to the right where the linemen were there to block.
I think this does in fact beat the quarterback draw slide inbounds with
Oh,
no
no.
timeouts left. Like this definitely beats that.
Oh no, because then Dak didn't even let the ref touch the ball, and so he wasted 10 seconds, anyways. But like I said, I think the 49ers, like it was the Cowboys' game to lose.
And you want to talk
Purdy
about
was
runs?
not doing well. The defense was. I thought the 49ers defense wasn't that great, honestly, and Like I thought that it was more of Dak being a total bitch than anything. Honestly, he's a total
I like seeing the
cocksucking
TikTok
piece
of the
of
guy
shit.
breaking his fucking TV. That was pretty funny.
It was pretty
Right.
great.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Loved. I thought that was Logan for a second.
Common misconception, I know. But yeah, no, the 49ers did not look that great. And so I honestly think if Cooper Rush was playing this game, just because he's not as crazy as Dak Prescott,
Are you
honestly,
serious
like
now?
Dak was just running around like an idiot. He looked like he was running around with his head cut off. Like, oh my gosh, he's just the
You really
worst thing
thought
ever.
Cooper Rush was going to beat the Niners?
Oh yeah. I think it wouldn't have taken that much to beat the Niners, honestly. Sorry, Melissa. But
Okay.
I mean,
just because Cooper Rush is very grounded, and I don't think you needed that much to beat the 49ers right then.
I don't think.
And I think
Ryan
next
had
week
two job interviews on the same day before a game.
I think the Eagles next week are going to destroy the 49ers, honestly. I just think
Is
it's
that a
just
bold
not
prediction right now, Logan?
It's not a bold prediction. It shouldn't be, at least. I mean, I think it's going to be at least 30-10, right? It's
You
not that
gotta
crazy,
be
right?
kidding me.
I don't think it should be that. I mean, what do the 49ers have, though? I mean, I like Purdy, but I mean,
They have Purdy. They got
Did-
CMC. They got Mitchell. They got
because let's be
Samuel.
honest,
They got
the
Debo
Cowboys.
Samuel.
Who cares?
Who ca-
Let's be honest, because like the Cowboys' defense isn't that great, right? I mean, the Cowboys.
Oh yeah, they just
they're
won
not-
12 straight games. They're not that great.
Oh God, it's Josh Edwards right on top of me again. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just used to
keep
the
going.
naysayer. No.
Yeah.
Oh my
keep
gosh,
going.
it really
Keep
is
going.
him. But I'm sorry.
Are you
But
gonna tell him maybe he needs to do the stretch?
Yeah. Can you do stretch like in a very wrestler voice?
Just keep going.
Stretch. No. Anyway, sorry, Pins.
No, keep going. Keep going. No,
Anyways, I lost my
that's why
train
we
of
all
thought.
have brains, because we all have different opinions.
No, it's just it doesn't make sense.
No,
to me
Logan.
that
That used to be Logan's old co-host. See, every time before the show, like in the middle of the show entrance, he would be like, "Stretch."
yeah.
Nothing wrong with Josh. I like Josh. I thought it was funny, but that's just what he did. And he had the beard and everything.
Anyways,
No,
I
you're
just
good, man.
I think this whole 49ers team is like a smokescreen. It's kind of like how the Dallas Cowboys were for a while, and then Dak Prescott returned from his injury, and then they sucked again. But they played mediocre teams. They didn't really play a good team. The only team they beat that was worth noting was the Eagles, but they didn't have Jalen Hurts at the time, and they barely beat the Eagles with the backup. They didn't even beat the Redskins. I mean, the Commanders. Oh, I'm getting canceled so hard. Oh my gosh.
Listen, Logan, you're never getting canceled from this show, buddy.
But it's stupid. And the Cowboys, if it was another quarterback, then like we would have won that game easily.
Logan, you're making Cooper Rush out to be like the next coming of Jeff Hostetler or something. Are you sure about that? I don't know if Cooper Rush would have been any much of a better result than Dak Prescott, to be honest with you.
It's
No
not even
way.
that he's better, in my opinion. It's that he's just so grounded, and Dak Prescott gets so crazy in his head. Like he's got to run around, and he's like, he moves out of the pocket way too much, like
And Patrick
unnecessarily.
Mahomes doesn't.
Well, Patrick Mahomes can run, and I mean, Patrick Mahomes is an anomaly. He's an exception, not the rule. Like he can throw like underhanded and do a perfect spiral. I mean, he's an anomaly, and so I think Dak Prescott tries to be that way, and he's just not.
Okay, interesting. Actually, I would just like to say,
Good call,
actually, you know
Jason.
what? I think we should hear from the resident 49ers fan next, who's right up here, wherever you're at, Melissa. All right, come on. Do we dare ask?
She's gonna break her phone because it won't
Yeah.
unmute. There we go. Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
How you feeling after this week?
I put myself on mute so that way I did not cuss the entire time people were talking. Because I heard a lot of ridiculous things that pissed me off.
Ridiculous. No.
Ridiculous. Okay, so let's put aside the quarterback thing first. Tony Pollard got hurt in this game, and I feel bad for him, and I've been praying for him because I hate to see anyone get hurt. But there were certain ridiculous people at that ridiculous Dallas station that your ridiculous owner always goes on every Tuesday, except for this week, who
Oh,
he
the fan.
canceled. Okay, and
No one likes the
you
fan.
guys were talking about how, Christian McCaffrey has been so hurt over the last 2 weeks. Couldn't he just get a hammy or a knee injury or some other thing? Like, they were actively rooting for an injury to our running back. And I do not root for injuries, but I thought it was the bad juju went right back to the Cowboys because y'all were rooting for an injury to ours.
If it makes you
Next.
feel better, I was rooting for Dak to get a Joe Theismann injury. So
Next point was made.
Wow.
Our
Reagan.
our offensive weapons
I'm
are
desperate.
trash or some other nonsense that was thrown out there. Michael Gallup, nothing. Zeke Elliott, burnt out toast, and even as a center, he got rolled over. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. No fight, no nothing. And he's supposed to be this great blocking, whatever the hell thing that people keep telling me that Zeke Elliott has to be on this team for. Then you said your defense isn't that good, but then why the hell has Micah Parsons been up for Defensive Player of the Year all year long, and everyone keeps trying to force it, even though he has looked awful the last couple months, and Nick
I don't
Bosa
think he's
clearly
that great.
deserves the award. Trayvon Diggs, I will give this to you, should not have dropped that almost interception, but your defense in a whole brought it, and my team definitely took its time to take advantage of your defense's deficiencies, which kind of drove me crazy. But to say that the Niners don't have a defense, or to say the Niners don't have offensive weapons, I think is the most blasphemous thing I've ever heard.
blast.
You have Fred Warner, you have Jerry Greenlaw, you have Nick Bosa, you have Eric Armstead, you have Sean Gibson, you have Javarius Ward, Diamador Lenoir, who had a beautiful interception in this game. You have so many great players on both sides of the ball. It just astounds me that
Were they that great
everybody-
last week, though?
they don't have to be perfect every game. They don't have to score 30 points and then completely shut out another team to be great. This is the freaking playoffs. These games are going to get gritty, and it matters how you bounce back from the earlier issues in your first half. And that's what I love most about my team, is that they've learned, they've adjusted, they adapt. And they win. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be you guys blowing out the freaking Vikings 40-3. Like, those kind of games, that's bad football, in my opinion. Those are just
That's reading.
freaking obnoxious blowouts that, like, who the hell gives a shit that you guys beat up on a piss poor Vikings team? Like, it's pathetic. And to say that what?
Dak should have had 3 picks. Fred Warner just dropped that ball. And that
No,
should have
Dre
been a
Greenlaw dropped the ball at the
Drake
end.
Greenlaw.
Yeah, Greenwell. I'm sorry. Greenwell dropped that ball at the end. That should have been.
And technically, it should have been a
Nobody
safety
questions
before that. But Eric Armstead didn't even go for the safety because the team is so used to being burnt by that stupid unnecessary roughness call that's been there all year long since the freaking Tua injury that he completely left Dak alone in the end zone.
He should have smashed him.
So
Yeah, they should have.
you know what?
But then it would
You don't
been
have to
flat.
believe in the
He would've
Niners.
been a
You don't.
flat on that.
You don't have to believe in the Niners. You don't have to think they're good, but that really pissed me off what was being said.
I just don't think they're that impressive. Like, I don't think the Cowboys defense is that impressive either. I think if you put prime Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or anybody into that quarterback position for the Cowboys with that offense, I think they could have won that game easily. They could have destroyed that. I think that the Eagles are going to exploit that next week. I just don't.
No way.
I was not impressed by either team
No way.
last week.
No way. No way.
Dak Prescott for the first quarter, I would say, didn't look half bad. And then he just couldn't get it in the end zone towards the end there. But he was marching down the field pretty well. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're wrong.
How?
Because the Niners defense is legit. It's actually lit. They learned from their mistakes from last year. They
Ryan,
put
say
out-
something smart to make me sound right.
And this is the comment I'm laughing at. I love when people say this stuff.
What,
This
this
just shows that they don't pay attention to football.
This one, right?
If-
Is this the one you're referring to?
Yeah, if you bring
wanna-
up like who another team has played, like I could sit here and say who have the 49ers played, because during that 10-game win streak in the regular season, they faced 2 teams that made the playoffs. So I could say 8 of those wins are bullshit, but I understand that this is the NFL and it's hard to beat teams.
Well, I want to address the comment above that says Rush isn't making a difference. They said the same thing about Purdy whenever Trey Lance, is that the quarterback's name? And then Jimmy G when they got injured. So, and no one expected anything from Purdy. Let me tell you something. Cooper Rush showed up whenever Dak went down.
He lost to Philly.
The Eagles are a legit team. They were undefeated. What?
Okay,
And I
Logan,
what,
can I
yes.
bounce one thing off of you?
let's see if
When you
can.
guys were winning with Cooper Rush, you guys completely changed your offensive mentality. You were running with Pollard. You were running with Zeke. You were taking advantage of your tight ends. You completely overhauled what the Dallas Cowboys were.
That's
And as
genius.
soon as Dak Prescott came back, you guys went right back to 300, 400, 500 yards passing. And you guys took advantage of really, really bad teams when he came back in the Bears and the Lions at that point. And I think that overall hurt your team going down the stretch because you guys were successful at the beginning of the year after Dak got hurt. And then you guys just completely went away from what was actually helping out your franchise.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a question for both of you or just.
I'm
the
ranked
Cowboys
first,
guy.
motherfucker. No, I don't know. I don't know where I rank.
Um,
Probably.
And as for John actually has a podcast called Locker Room Rant, and he watches a lot of football, and he's very knowledgeable. And
I did ask him to come on, but he said he got.
Well, he
family.
did
To
just say
defend
common
his-
opponents, they kill us, and that's not necessarily true either. So I don't. I'm starting to question
They're ranked
this.
first on the running to the couch.
Running to the couch.
Oh. and to defend him, I kind of agree because I mean, Philly played the NFC East, which I mean did have technically 3 teams in the playoffs, but at the same time, you guys steamrolled your division mostly, except for the Commanders beating you once, and then the Cowboys getting that lucky Minshew game. You guys picked on the AFC South, and you picked on the NFC North. So in that vein, I understand where he's coming from, but back to the Cowboys bashing on the Niners. Like, why is it every single time the Dallas Cowboys screw up, and especially since they've screwed up twice against the Niners, it's always an attack or the Niners got lucky. They weren't talented enough to beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys defeated themselves. Like, that mentality from fans pisses me off like nothing else.
It's not just the 49ers. It's literally like last year we were talking about who did they play last year in the playoffs? Was it the Rams?
The Niners.
Was it the Niners?
It's the Niners.
And Dak Prescott totally screwed the pooch right there in the last drive. I mean, He ran down the field. Like, it's just these boneheaded moves that these Cowboys make that really pisses fans off. It's like, okay, if the Cowboys lost legitimately, like say, just it was a close game, nothing went against us, nothing. Dak didn't. He played superbly. Then Cowboys fans would actually feel better about the loss. But
Okay, but Logan, you should have never even had the ball again in that game. If
which
Deebo
one?
Samuel wasn't okay in the game last year, if Trent Williams was allowed to set and Jimmy didn't snap the ball off, that wouldn't have been a loss of down. If Deebo Samuel actually had it measured out correctly, he would have had the first down. He would have never gotten possession of the ball again. Like
Eli Mitchell slides in.
I love
the whole different story.
Ryan,
I-
take a look at this comment.
Elijah Mitchell in this past game stepped out of bounds. Like all these things that are true, and it just infuriates me the way the Cowboys seem to own most fans' minds and most media members' minds, and it can never be bad Dallas.
oh, it is bad Dallas. I'm saying
It's just everyone
the
else
Cowboys-
is just lucky to win against the Dallas Cowboys. I mean,
Except for
I'm
no, it's not the fact that
It's
well, I mean,
ridiculous.
it is kind of that. It's just that I don't see how the 49ers were so good that the Dallas Cowboys shouldn't have beat them. Like the Dallas Cowboys should have won that game. They just should have, honestly, and it just
well, get a better offensive coordinator, and then you guys can talk.
get a better quarterback. Honestly, is the real thing. That I will go
If
to my
Dak
grave.
went
knowing
to
that
the Giants, I guarantee he'll be putting up more numbers than he would with Dallas.
I would welcome that, honestly, but he won't.
I'm just stating the fact. I'm just saying that it's the Dallas system.
I don't think it is just the Dallas system. I think
Ryan, did you get a chance to look up John's question?
Oh no, I already know where the Eagles rank in the run and everything because I got to be prepared.
What about
for the show
the
tomorrow.
five common? What about the common opponents?
The Eagles lost to the Saints, who the 49ers beat, and the 49ers lost to the Bears, who the Eagles beat. That other than that, they all swept against their common opponent. Well, I mean, technically, the Eagles played Dallas twice and they lost in extra time, but outside of like teams that they only played
That's because
once.
of the butt fumble recovery.
we also beat the Commanders, and you guys lost to the Commanders.
We
that was
played them
another
twice
one.
as well. That's why I'm specifically referencing only teams we played once.
I'm thinking who else Philly played that we played.
Ryan, Jason, you got a question?
No question.
Okay. I thought I saw your hand pop up, but I wasn't sure.
Jason, what do you think about the Niners defense?
Okay, you guys know I'm a huge Green Bay Packers fan. But
I understand that.
okay, I know that's not the question you asked me. I'm bringing
No,
that
but
up
you're-
because I'm also an
Steelers
objective.
and Packers. Yeah, Steelers and Packers are both on the couch, but if you're just enjoying football, does the Niners have elite core defense?
Yes, they do. The rankings,
Logan?
the numbers,
You
the rankings and the numbers this year show the San Francisco 49ers have been a top 10 overall defense overall. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are the best linebacker duo in the NFL. And that's the end of that conversation right there.
Where the
They have
Cowboys rank?
playmakers. They have playmakers at every position. They have the ability to beat you in a number of different ways defensively. The numbers don't lie. The Niners are a top 10 defense overall. I looked at the numbers last weekend watching the
They
game.
are.
I would
They
say
are
they're.
a
I mean,
second half.
they're
they are
the
a
top
second
defense
half
in the
defense.
NFL, but
I think
Yes.
I think they're outscoring 189 to 66 in the
Yes.
second
Something like
half or
189
something
to
like that.
66. And look, Logan, I hear what you're saying, but there's an old saying that goes around, the proof is in the pudding. And when the numbers dictate that you're one of the best or the best at your particular position or sport at something, then you are. And that's what the 49ers are. And look, I'm the last person on earth who will ever root for the goddamn San Francisco 49ers because I am a
That's
Packers
why I
fan.
asked you that question too.
Yeah, but I'm also, look, guys, I'm also an objective sports fan in that I like to look at things objectively, regardless of how much I may not want to. And I have to give the 49ers props because they are a play-making defense. And you know what? If D'Amico Ryans can't find a way to put pressure on the quarterback to beat you that way, he's going to find ways to beat you by having his defensive backs line up in different patterns and different sets. He's going to find ways to rush the linebackers. He's going to find ways to mask his coverages. There's a reason why this guy is getting so many head coaching props right now is because he's turned into one hell of a defensive coordinator. The 49ers are a playmaking top 10 defense. Screw that. They're a playmaking top 5 defense. All right.
Exactly.
And that's not taking anything away from what the Cowboys may or may not have done. The 49ers statistically are one of the best, if not the best. End of my rant.
They got the pass
Thank you,
rush,
Jason.
They have the
You're
pass
welcome,
rush,
Melissa.
I thought
they
we
have the
had
pass
something,
rush,
Jason.
They have the secondary.
Oh, sorry, Penn. I didn't hear you.
No, you're good. They have the pass rushing and they have the secondary.
Actually, I just like I agree with everything Jason said. They're easily the best run stopping defense in the NFL. They are a little susceptible against the pass. That's probably like their weakest point on defense is that they're probably middle of the pack against the pass, if I had to guess.
I think their tackling in the secondary is better. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, no. The San Francisco 49ers play sound football. Like I'm not saying that they're a trash pass defense by any means necessary. I'm just saying
right,
from
I
the
wasn't
games I've
talking about
watched,
ball
if I had to
hogging.
pick their weakness, it's through the air. You can
Yeah, I
get them
wasn't
through
talking
the air.
about, I wasn't talking about ball hogging. I was talking about tackling.
What was I going to say? Oh,
I'm not sure.
look, I went into the game last week just thinking, oh, well, this game was gonna the Cowboys had no chance, and then I watched the first quarter and the second quarter, and I was like, okay, it's like Purdy's not looking the greatest, and the defense isn't that great right now, and so that's my thing is like these guys. I don't think that the way the defense was playing and how Purdy was playing, I don't think that the Cowboys had any business losing that game. And the only reason why they lost the game was because freaking Dak Prescott, honestly.
The Niners did pick off Prescott
They did.
3 times.
They did. And that's because Prescott is he leads the league in interceptions, even though he was out for 5 weeks. So because he's dog shit.
The defense got to catch the ball.
Let me tell you something. I had never wanted to go bash someone's brains in so much until after that Cowboys game. I was like, I hate Dak Prescott. I hate his stupid teeth. I hate his haircut. I hate his beard. I hate his face. And I just want to smash his face. I hate the number 4, apparently.
Jesus, Logan, let us know how you really feel, man.
It's number 4. Apparently, it's number 4 that just kills.
Adam's looking for something.
Yeah, I just got 2 jerseys in the force.
I was a big Tony Romo fan, and I thought Tony Romo was just plagued by his shitty team. And then Dak Prescott comes in, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's the greatest thing ever." I think Cooper Rush is the second
Jason
coming of
Garrett.
Kurt Warner, by the way. So, yeah, Jason.
Yeah, you
Garrett
had Jason
was second.
Garrett with him.
Yeah, but was he bagging groceries at the grocery store before his
Oh,
job
shit.
in the NFL?
Oh,
He was
shit.
bagging them bitches. No. Sorry.
Logan, you're getting piled on, buddy.
I know I'm used to it. Ryan, what are yours? Was your signature win with the season? Win this season?
It's hard to pick one.
Asshole.
14 of them, the most in the league.
Let's be honest though, the NFL, all the teams, or not all the teams.
I mean, I don't look at it so simple like that though. It's so hard to win in the NFL. Look at the Rams, man. They were Super Bowl champs last year, and now they're terrible. 1 year later, they're like that. Like, there's a reason you don't see like repeat Super Bowl champions. The Patriots run, that's why it was so incredible, is because you don't ever see stuff like that in the NFL. Like, it's hard to repeat a Super Bowl champion. It's hard to win in football because teams just look so different year to year. The Eagles could go fucking 4-13 next year. It's realistically a possibility, but so it is what it is. Like, common opponents, stuff like that doesn't matter. It's really how do the 49ers match up against the Eagles and vice versa. Calling the Eagles frauds, like, come on now. Like, that's a little ridiculous, but that's a little too fandom for me. That's a little too homer for me. So
I got a question for you, Ryan.
what's up?
I asked an old friend of mine, him and I are anymore. But when we were, I had a question for him. I'm going to ask you the same question. Did you expect the Eagles to come in to training camp and have the year that they had?
No, actually. It's funny. I wanted to bring that up.
I want to go back and watch our first podcast, Ryan, and see what we all said. I have no idea. I mean, obviously, we did this show because it's in the beginning video.
See,
I think it was me, you, Jake Long.
But so on my show, on the BSing show, I remember distinctly, because if you'll notice, it says I was wrong on that photo. And I took that photo at the end of the season because I predicted the Eagles to go. I said that with the addition of A.J. Brown, they would probably be a game better. I said 10-7. They might win in the wild card round, and that would be it. I wasn't a big Hurts guy, right? I didn't think that he was going to make the massive improvement that he did. I just didn't see the Eagles being the number 2 overall defense in the NFL behind the aforementioned San Francisco 49ers. I didn't see it. I just did not. It wasn't in the cards for me. The Eagles stayed pretty much relatively healthy all year up until the last 4 weeks of the regular season or so, and they played good football.
And that's normal.
First of all, the Philadelphia Eagles are not frauds. Neither are the Kansas City Chiefs, neither are the Cincinnati Bengals, and neither are the San Francisco 49ers. What do all those 4 teams have in common? They're playing in their conference championships. If anything, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are more frauds than the Eagles. You could also make the same case for a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were only 9-8, but they still made the playoffs. Look, I've never bought into strength of schedule, guys. Good teams beat bad teams all the time. Bad teams beat good teams all the time. And Ryan brought up a good point. Because the attrition rate for coaches and assistant coaches is so high every single year, you're not going to see the same teams, the same styles of offense or defense trot out there on the field 3, 4, 5 years in a row. Look, let's quit splitting hairs here. Let's quit calling teams that are at this level frauds when they clearly aren't. The 4 best teams playing for a chance to go to the Super Bowl are there for a reason, because they had sustained excellence during the regular season and they earned trips to their conference championships. And before you get started about, well, the Bengals started out slow and started out poor, you know why the Bengals earned it? Because they kicked ass down the stretch. They got their shit together, and they didn't lose the rest of the way. And they're now probably the most dangerous team in the NFL to challenge for a Super Bowl title. Yes, go ahead.
I'm big into sports betting, and I'm glad you brought that up, because in my years of sports betting, I've never seen a line move so much, so fast, like I have this AFC Championship game, where the Chiefs opened up as 1.5-point favorites, and it swung as high as 2.5-point favorites in favor of Cincinnati within 24 hours. I've never seen a line move like that.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, Brian, yeah, it's crazy. And again, the Eagles aren't frauds. The Niners aren't frauds. The Bengals aren't frauds. These 4 teams less standing, Kansas City, Cincinnati, San Francisco, and Philadelphia, are there for a reason. They deserve to be there, regardless of who they had to play to get there, regardless of who they lost to, regardless of who they beat. They got there because they earned it. All right. If anything, the Green Bay Packers are frauds. All right, because they were supposed to be where the Eagles and the 49ers are. They were supposed to be where the Philadelphia Eagles and the Niners are right now, and they didn't do dick. And now Aaron Rodgers is going on the press circuit and going on Pat McAfee's show, making excuses for what happened and what's going to happen next season. Look,
I
these
gotta
teams
ask you,
are
Jason.
frauds.
Hold on.
I gotta ask you. Go ahead.
Hold on. Adam, I gotta get going soon here.
Amanda.
Bye, Pence.
All right, I'm gonna get going, so I'll talk to everybody later. So,
Later,
And how
Pence.
people
Bye,
get you,
Pence.
buddy.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's funny, like how the beginning of all of Adam's shows. Oh, this one won't be 2 to 3 hours.
Lo and behold,
We have 4 games to talk about. Here we are 2 hours later.
yeah, right.
Uh,
By the way, you can find pins at Staples.
that's the worst one yet.
I asked him how to get a hold
Oh
of
my
him. Go to
god.
Staples.
God damn it, Logan.
Zany.
Logan. Jesus. Oh man.
Oh,
But
shit.
Jason,
Yes.
you actually believe that you guys are gonna be here again? Like,
Well,
honestly, you
the
guys have been
Packers?
like one and done in the playoffs for like the last couple of years almost.
Honestly, Melissa, I don't know how to answer that question because right now at this stage, the Green Bay Packers organization is twisted in and out like a pretzel. I mean, really, they're held hostage by Aaron Rodgers' decision yet again. And I mean, we can get into what's going to happen. We're supposed to be talking postseason, not the Packers, for crying out loud. But
You brought up the Packers. I didn't go
Okay.
there at all.
you're right. Okay, fair and square. I opened that floodgate. Okay, I will say this. I'm going to say, honestly, I don't know how to answer that question because the Packers offseason right now, while it doesn't look bleak, it does have a lot of questions that, quite frankly, Brian Gutekunst and the front office do not know how to answer. And again, they are being held hostage by Aaron Rodgers in part because of his contract, but in part because if they're going to trade him, they're not going to expect anything less than 2 first-round picks. And even though Aaron is still a productive quarterback at age 37, I still think some organizations are going to be reluctant to give up 2 first rounds to get him. I think they'll give up a first rounder and maybe 2 seconds and a third, but definitely not 2 first rounders for Aaron Rodgers. And plus, I like Jordan Love. I want to see what he can do. But with that being said, if they're going to get rid of Rodgers and go with Jordan Love and go with these younger star players that they're trying to groom like Dobbs and Christian Watson, I don't know if they'll make the postseason next year. But eventually at some point they're going to have to move on from Aaron Rodgers.
So how
Yes.
did you feel? How did you feel about Aaron Rodgers' post-game presser week 17 before they played the Lions, telling everybody, "Yeah, I told you guys we'd be back. Don't worry about it." Blah blah blah. And then the motherfucker goes out there and lays an egg against Detroit, and they don't get to the playoffs.
I'm not surprised, Ryan. He's a snake oil salesman. So to be quite honest with you, the guy's a snake oil salesman.
Once he said all that before the game happened, like already counting himself in the playoffs, I was like, they lost this game. I'm taking Detroit.
No.
They lost.
The very best part about that game, Jamal Williams of all people,
Yep.
killing the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau.
And
That's the
Barry
best part
Sanders,
about that game.
and Barry Sanders tipping his hat to Jamal Williams because Jamal broke Sanders' all-time regular season touchdown record in that game. So a former Green Bay Packer shoving it up the Packers' ass in that game must have felt really good for Jamal.
Second best part about that game, Ian Hutchinson picking off Aaron Rodgers again. Third best part about that game, Malcolm Rodriguez's opening introduction, when they do the player introductions, and him saying, "I'm from Barry Sanders University," and Barry Sanders getting like a big kick out of it online. He goes, "I can't take a credit for your talent," and it was like a little cute thing because I actually follow Barry Sanders. But back to this particular game,
Yeah.
I cannot wait to face the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been wanting to see this so long. I think the teams are like really evenly matched, and I really love that it's going to be in Philadelphia. My only one issue is, though, I do not trust the Eagle fans because they are notorious about throwing things at players and just being a really I don't know how to say this while being nice, but a bit psychotic when it comes to opposing teams being in their building.
I think that's overplayed by the media. There's a lot of that stuff that happens in other stadiums that doesn't get talked about, but because the Eagles threw snowballs at Santa Claus 53 fucking years ago, they won't shut up about it. It's overplayed. It really is. The jail cell was abolished 15 years ago. We can move past that. The Eagles fans don't really throw shit at players any more than any other fan base does. It's really overplayed and it's really irritating.
I was more mentioning how like Donovan McNabb comes back like to the surface every few years and talks about how when he first got there, you guys were throwing like ice balls at him with like little pebbles in them. Because you guys were pissed off that he wasn't like Ricky Williams something.
Oh gosh, Donovan McNabb.
Donovan McNabb is the reason we didn't win the Super Bowl in 2004 because he is a pathetic leader. Like the dude was out drinking the night before the Super Bowl. That's why he was throwing up on the field because he was hungover. Fucking idiot.
So you sided with T.O. then?
You know what? It's funny. I do. I think T.O. has his own problems, but after hearing all the shit about McNabb and like how true it is, yeah. Like in that instance, I do. But T.O. has his own issues anyway. Like T.O.'s a problem in of itself because every team he goes to, he has issues, but
I think T.O. was T.O. was just in the wrong era.
Like T.O. was saying it, and I was like, whatever. And then it came out that T.O. was not the only one saying that. I was like, okay, there's some merit to this.
You know, the only other time I saw an offensive weapon called his quarterback like that, it kind of reminded me of Tiki and Eli. Like everyone kind of like blew up how badly Tiki was calling out Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin, and then you find out years later that Strahan almost retired before that Super Bowl run, and like 5 other guys were all pissed off about the same kind of thing because they weren't as brave as Tiki and they didn't make it publicly known. So I don't know. It's just
question for you, Melissa, for my show tomorrow more so than anything. Which side of the offensive line does Nick Bosa line up on more often?
that would be the left side, but he does not stay on the left side the way he used to when he was a rookie. He moves all over.
That's kind of
double teamed. He is not very productive.
So I imagine he'll probably be on my Lida a lot of the.
Well, that's what a lot of fans are kind of rooting for.
Well, it has to be because no offense, like I love Nick Bosa. We've been on this show and I've talked Nick Bosa up more often. You're not going to hear his name if he lines up on Lane Johnson. You'll hear his name when they ask where the hell has Nick Bosa been all game. That's just how it's been.
See, I don't know that because Lane Johnson has not looked the same since he got hurt. I mean, he looks hurt.
Like he looked hurt last game. Like that shit was really evident that he was injured.
Any Eagle that like came back real fast off injury, I would have more faith in Josh Sweat right now than I would Lane Johnson, especially the way like defensive linemen get switched out way more consistently than offensive linemen, and you guys have had like a few issues with like Kelsey and other guys having to be moved all over your line because you guys had some major injuries on your offensive line.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. This year, it's only been Johnson. Every other player on the offensive line has played all 17 games.
I think the key in that matchup is if the Niners can successfully take advantage of your offensive line and get to Jalen before he breaks out in those big runs or makes too much time in the backfield for your offensive weapons to get open, because those are kind of like the Niners' big issues. They always give up at least 2 to 3 big plays, and the longer it takes for the pass rush to get to the quarterback, the harder it is on the secondary to stay on top of everything. And you guys might not have like big bodied guys the way that I would fear more like the NFC West receivers, but your guys are so speedy. And if you guys
I
aren't
would argue
perfect,
Devontae Smith's one of the best route runners in the NFL.
no. I mean big
No,
body.
I
because,
agree
like,
with what you're saying. Like, there's no DK Metcalfs. I mean, AJ Brown's big and
or
explosive.
DeAndre Hopkins, like, or Tyler Higbee. Like my one of my favorite players on my team is DeAndre Lenore, and he has a very big issue with the bigger body guys. He has a very hard issue. He can grab a guy around the middle and wait for someone to come like bail him out and kind of like help group tackle a guy. But when it's just DeAndre Lenore by himself on an island, he has a very, very hard time with the bigger, more physical, brutish kind of offensive weapons. So in that regard, I'm not so scared of AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, even though they're both legitimate players that I think should have been up there and gotten more respect than a Tyreek Hill. But Tyreek Hill is the cheetah, and he'll always get too much credit.
I think you just described AJ Brown to a T, because he's like 6'4", 225. Like, AJ Brown is huge.
But the thing is the pass rush, because I haven't really heard Miles Sanders' name the way I used to hear his name. Like, it's been mostly Boston Scott. So I'm really curious how you guys divvy up the runs versus the passes on your offense. And I think my score prediction has been 24-17 Niners. So I think it's going to be like a really back and forth game where it's just like a few punts thrown in there, and it's going to be a few 3-and-outs, but it's just going to be about taking advantage of the opportunities that the other team gives you and who does that best.
I think mine's close. I have 21-17 Eagles. I don't see in any way, shape, or form that this goes to a shootout with the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the NFL playing. The key to the game is, are the Eagles going to be able to do what they do best, is run the football, right? You've got top 5. You've got probably the best offensive line in football going up against the number 1 run defense in the NFL, right? You've got, can Kelsey get up to the Fred Warner? Can he get up to Dre Greenlaw? Can he get to that second level and make those blocks? I think that I think that's really what it's going to come down to, because if the Eagles can run play action, if they can go 4 or 5 yards carry and run play action, Brown and Smith are going to have field days, because I don't like this. I think that the Niners secondary is it's a real weakness. I think it's helped out by the fact that the rest of the defense is so good, but I think that they're a weakness. I think it can be exploited, but if the Eagles can't run the ball consistently, I think that's going to be a problem. So that's where my game lies. Like, that's the difference for me.
Well,
guys, I gotta go.
Logan,
I gotta
what are
go.
you predicting this score to be?
Bye,
What are you
Logan.
predicting this score to be?
40-15 or 17 Eagles. So I think the Eagles are going to blow them out. Bye, Melissa. I love you, even though
Logan, it's always fun,
No,
man.
kidding.
How people get you.
I don't know anymore. You can find me at the next AA meeting, I guess. Jason.
Logan, the feeling is mutual, because some of your jokes hit, and then some of them I just want to go find you wherever you are and wring your neck. So
You mean you didn't like that my joke about pins? You can find pins at Staples. I thought that was pretty great.
it wasn't that one, and you know exactly what kind of jokes I'm talking about.
Oh,
We
probably.
got some Niner fans in the house.
Anyways,
This
Ryan,
is
this is
Jason,
what John
the other
thinks
key
going to
to the
happen.
Adam.
All right, Logan, good talking
all
again.
right.
Yeah, so this is the other key for the game to me. Can the Eagles' run defense, show up? Because obviously the Niners are a great running football team, right? And especially in the beginning of the year, the Eagles' run defense was just awful. I mean, it was embarrassing to watch. I hated it. Every team tore us up. But Jordan Davis's usage has gone up a little bit throughout the season. They did sign Sue and Joseph, which they have not had direct impacts themselves, but the fact that it's 2 extra bodies to rotate through the line has brought the Eagles up to a respectable run defense. But respectable run defense versus great offensive like running game. I don't know. I think it's going to be a great game because, you know, the 49ers are such a great run defense. Well, we have to give that same respect and that same tone to the Eagles pass defense, who is number one overall in the NFL. Like, do you think Brock Purdy can beat the Eagles defense through the air if it comes to it?
Okay, so that actually is one of my fears about this game. It's not so much in my quarterback or my receivers. It's just lately there's been some timing issues. You know, he's only played in like 8 games, like 7 as a starter, including the playoffs. And my big fear is like that kind of stuff, that instinctual stuff in crunch time is usually helped by a lot of reps, having played through an entire off season together or an entire season together, and you kind of like you kind of feel the other player out, and you kind of know what they're gonna do in those kind of moments. You know, like choice routes, you'll know which side they prefer, their speed, and so that's my main concern, because it's not that I doubt my offense. It's more I'm fearful, respectively, of your secondary. I know it was his former team last week, and I know how much that meant to him, but the way CJ Gardner-Johnson and James Bradbury and Darius Slay, and I'm sorry if I'm blanking on the rest of the members of your secondary, play, they are...
That's the only other one that's relevant.
The way they play, the way that they are such ball sniffers, and they're not like my team who can either be like really on the INTs, or they can like drop easy INTs. Your team does not drop INTs, so they would take more advantage of those kind of like miscues and mishaps and missteps. So like if Jawan Jennings isn't perfect coming back for balls, or if someone's not making an outrageous catch and like diving and like contorting their body on certain throws, if things aren't near perfect, I fear what the Eagles secondary can do to my team. Because as much as I believe in my defense and that, or my run game that can grind a team down and kind of like not care about the pretty flashy plays, or they don't really care about high scoring games, they can just like ground and pound and wait until they wear off the rest of the team, and then they'll take advantage at the very end. I feel if you're too lackadaisical, and if you don't take Philly as the huge threat that they are at the beginning, it's going to be almost near impossible to come back at later when you adjust, you know? So that's my big fear.
Actually,
well, the Eagles have shut down McCaffrey.
So
when he was in Carolina.
To turn that around, one of my biggest worries is the way that the 49ers pass game is set up. It's not a push the ball down the field. There's not a lot of 5 to 7 step drops in the offense. And as we all know, the Eagles just had a historic sack season, right? They're the best defensive line in football collectively. So there's a lot of
70 plus sacks that you guys got collectively with all your defensive players.
70, third most in the NFL history, and they were the first team with 4 players that have 10 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So but with the 3-step drops, is the pass rush ever going to get home? You know, that quick game, that let's get the ball to Kittle, McCaffrey, let's get the ball to Debo, or is the pass rush ever going to get home? That's just kind of where I'm at. So it's going to be real critical for the Eagles to stop the run on first and second down.
If you guys were facing Jimmy Garoppolo, as much as I hate him, and I have true hate in my heart for that man, I'd agree. I'd agree that you guys would not have much of a chance taking advantage of it, because that's like his one key strength besides the quarterback sneak. He got the ball the hell up out of his hands as quick as possible, right? But Brock Purdy, I felt like over the last couple games, especially in the playoffs, has been doing a lot of dancing in the backfield and holding onto the ball longer than necessary because he wants to make the big flashy play. And so I think it really comes down to which Purdy do you get? Do you get the Purdy that like takes what the defense gives him, or do you get the Purdy who is trying to be a superstar.
Yeah, well,
So
if he's
I
dancing around
really
in the backfield, that's going to be a problem.
I really feel like he has the ability, like turn and twist and turn his back on the defense and make plays. But it really, really does depend if he acts like the Purdy who's been winning or if he acts like a rookie who's just in over his head.
I'll tell you, I was probably a couple weeks ago, I was ready to pick the Niners in this game, and CJ Gardner-Johnson coming back, looking healthy himself, has stepped this up massively, because with him and Maddox being out, we were getting torched in the middle of the defense. And I thought Kittle would have had a field day if Maddox and CJ Gardner-Johnson weren't coming back. Now, I'm not sitting here saying CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to man up on Kittle and hold him to 1 catch for 9 yards. But if you're asking me as an Eagles fan, who would I rather have? The guy who led the league in interceptions covering Kittle, or a backup safety and a backup cornerback who got toasted by CeeDee Lamb? It's no contest, right? So I think at least one of them being back. And now I'm hearing that Maddox might practice this week. So I think that that's a really good window as well. I don't know if he'll play or not, but I think at least CJ Gardner-Johnson being back just helps out so much, because I was like, man, listen, Kittle and Purdy are on the same page no matter what fucking game this is. So if CJ and Avonte are out, like, it's I am going to be fearful that they're just going to light us up, because Kittle's the best yards after catch guy as a tight end in the NFL. So
now my one question to you is, my offense is very dangerous when they do quick little 5 to 7 yard routes, like up the middle, right?
they sure are.
And then they wait for the offensive lineman or Kyle Juszczyk or George Kittle or Brandon Ayuk or Juwan Jennings or Tyler Croft or someone else to come in and help block downfield and turn like a small play into something that gets flashed all over ESPN as a top 10 play, right? So my question is, how are your linebackers and specifically your secondary at tackling downfield? Are they
secondary?
Are they good at like? Are they good at like breaking up blocks and block schemes? Like, because you've seen the Niners when they block for someone, the entire team gets sent down the field aside from like the quarterback. So that's like 10 guys all going all over the place blocking for the one guy. Sorry, that's like 9 guys going. But so that's my one real hope, is that we run, we stop on defense, and then we just like use the yak to the advantage. Because like I said, the deep passing game, as much as fun as it would be, I fear your secondary way too much to believe that that's gonna work out in my favor.
That's I think it would work out in the 49ers' favor. That concerns me a lot too. I think they're a solid tackling secondary, but I mean, I've come on this show with you, Melissa. I've said Kittle, McCaffrey, Samuel, all second in yards after catch at their respective positions. The last 4 years, I believe it is now. That it's just what they do. That's why Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why these average quarterbacks come in here and have so much success. The system isn't built for them to have to make these amazing plays, and that's what the Eagles have forced teams to do. You can't get away with screen passes on 3rd and 10 so much, because the Eagles do tackle well, right? The pass rush is getting home, forcing them into 2nd and long, 3rd and long, but I don't see that happening. I think that it could potentially be a mismatch. It really all comes down to, like what you said, what Brock Purdy are we getting? Are we getting 5-step drops, run around in the backfield? Because that's not going to work out very well.
And my other thing that I had to ask you, since you're a Philly fan and you know way better than me, because I'm stuck more with Giants and Jets in my area, is, do you guys take a lot of chances on like 3rd and longs and 4th down? Or do you guys like punt and wait for the next series? Because I haven't seen that in a lot of the Philly games that I've seen, because you guys usually just overtake a team so well that you never really find yourselves in that situation. But does your offense go for it on those kind of downs? Do they take chances, or are they like really conservative and don't want to risk giving it short field to the other team?
Now, I don't know how often they do it comparatively to the rest of the NFL because, like you said, usually the Eagles are in a position where going for it on fourth down is few and far between, but they're very efficient at it. I would imagine that they probably have a top 5 conversion rate or close to it in the NFL. They're a very efficient team on fourth down, but to be honest with you, it's not something we have to do very often.
No, I think the one game that stands out in my memory where it got dicey a bit was you guys and the Lions, because you guys got like a quick lead against the Lions, but they kept grinding all the way to the end, and they made it so close at that last drive, and it felt like that was like the one game where Philly really hunkered down and stopped giving the Lions so many chances to try to steal that win.
I think as we all figured out, I think that game was the gate opening. More, people were ragging on the Eagles for weeks. Only you beat the Lions by 4 points. Well, as it turns out, the Lions were a pretty damn good offense. So,
Yes,
yeah, but at that time, they hadn't quite figured it out yet, because I think they started off 1-8 this year or something ridiculous like that. Until they kind of went on a hot winning streak, and then of course,
quiet. Oh, where'd he go? I kind of went to the Niner background just to let everyone know. Kind of turned into a little Niner show here. Jay, you got anything to say?
It is the Sunday. It's Sunday's first matchup. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like we're just doing it because we're an Eagles and Niners fan.
I think it's a great matchup too. Like I said, I didn't want to play. First off, I was so happy the Cowboys lost. Secondly, I didn't want to play them again. Like, I wanted to play the Niners. I felt like the Niners were a better team. And I was curious to see this matchup. Not like I wanted to play the Niners because I think we can kill you guys. Like, I think if I wanted the Eagles to have an easier win, I would have wanted Dallas to win. But never in my life am I ever going to root for Dallas. Like, that's just never going to happen. It could come down to the Cowboys needing to win for the Eagles to be in the playoffs at some point, and I'll be like, well, see you guys next year, because I'm rooting for whoever's playing against Dallas. I'm never going to root for them to win.
That's the one thing that really warms my heart about Philadelphia. All the Dallas Cowboys sucks gear that you guys have. It's not even Eagles gear. It's just anti-Cowboy stuff.
Jay, you got anything to say? You're quiet over there, buddy.
Oh, I thought I was backstage. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're live, buddy. You're here, buddy. You're right here.
All right.
Jay, just to let you know, I've completely gotten rid of the divisional show and went to bringing Dynamite to the mine, and we're all doing it right now.
Hey, that's good. That's what we're on here for. We're on here to opine. We're also on here to have fun. That's perfectly fine by me. I'm actually going to use this, my last comments, Adam, to check out because I do have to go. But I will say this about the game. I am expecting a close game. I don't think this is going to be an offensive shootout. It's going to come down to 3 things, in my opinion, 3 things. It's going to come down to the turnover. Who wins the game of turnovers? It's going to come down to who makes the biggest play at the most crucial moment of the game. And then number 3, will that big play result in a big momentum shift that tilts in the favor of the other team? Those are the 3 most important things to look for in the game. Melissa, I've given your 49ers props all year. They've been a hell of a football team, but I'm sorry. I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. They're at Lincoln Financial. I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. It's a close game. I think it's going to be one of those 13-10 type of games. And it could be a shootout. I don't think it will. I'm going Eagles 13-10. And with that, I have to bow out tonight, guys.
Now, Jason, I can't get mad at you for that.
Thank you very much.
And I wanted to be mad at you.
Thank you very much.
I love your
Adam?
hat. I love the hat that Ryan has just put on. Has everyone seen it?
Not nice. Nice.
This was my dad's when he had season tickets. He passed it on to me.
Nice. Adam, thanks for having me on again.
Oh,
it's been fun
Jason,
as always.
one quick thing before you go.
Yes.
What the fuck are you going to do about Quay Walker? You got 2 ejections this year. I mean, This guy is a real knucklehead.
Well, I am hoping that a member of the coaching staff or one of the veterans on the team sits him down and seriously says, look, Quay, You are a talented player with a bright future in this league, but you got to keep your temper in check. You got to keep your emotions in check. I understand that's part of his makeup. That's part of his football DNA. That's part of what makes him a good, young, up-and-coming player. But I'm hoping that a veteran will pull him aside during OTAs if he attends, or during training camp and say, Quay, you feel bad about what happened last year. Learn from that, grow, and use it as fuel to become a better player to prove everybody else wrong. That's my hope for Quay Walker, because I love his future as a player. My God, if he can get his temper in check, get his emotions in check, he is going to be a stud at linebacker at some point. But that's my hope for him. Whether it happens remains to be seen.
I feel like he's like the new AJ Hawk on your defense. He can have really explosive plays, but there's just something that's always going to come back and bite you in that linebacker core.
Potentially, I would actually compare him more to Zadarius Smith in that right now he's very opportunistic as a defensive player, and obviously because he's young and he's a rookie and all like that.
I meant attitude-wise. I wasn't like talking
attitude-wise. I got you. Yeah, I would say that's an apt comparison.
You had Clay Matthews, like the really diligent, hardworking, highly explosive linebacker, and he constantly had to pull AJ Hawk out of the fire and like be like, dude, you're fucking things up for us right now.
Yeah, and it eventually ended up AJ Hawk going to the Bengals, so we saw how that worked out. But that's neither here nor there.
Next week we'll probably be on maybe Tuesday, guys.
Okay. Tuesday should work for me. I'll keep in touch with you and let you know, Adam.
Melissa, I know you don't like doing Tuesday, but me and Matt have something lined up on Wednesday, and I forgot all about it. And I will keep you two updated because I might be able to swing one of you or both Ians on it.
Yep.
I really hate that you found a likable freaking cheesehead. I can't see mad at him. He's just so damn likable.
Who?
Jason is a likable cheesehead. Like, he's the one likable damn cheesehead I've ever come across.
That's good. All my people that I bring on here are likable in the end. It doesn't matter.
Even Logan.
I love Logan. I don't
Yeah,
Logan.
somehow, even Logan.
Logan's the shit.
Okay, seriously, guys, I have to go. Adam, it's been a pleasure. Ryan,
even though they changed the name of his old show to what they name it to? Birds at the Bush.
Oh,
bye, Jason.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Dodger Jason. Ryan, always a pleasure, always fun. Melissa, same with you. You guys take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, it's 13-10. I got your prediction. We're good, Jay. Hey, man, you have a good one, buddy. And
all right.
All righty.
Oh my goodness.
So
yeah, you said Dallas sucks gear. I have that. Have tons of it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I can't stand the Cowboys. But yeah,
I absolutely love it.
I didn't mean that like I wanted to face the Niners in the sense that like I think it's a tougher matchup. Like the NFL fan in me wanted to face the Niners. The Eagles fan in me probably wanted to face Dallas again because I think that would have been an easier path to the Super Bowl. But I mean, we're going to do position by position breakdown tomorrow on our show. And off the top, running back.
You know what I think about when I think about this game? I think about the 2013 Niners. We got hosed and screwed over by the Seahawks, but I felt like that was really the Super Bowl, that NFC Championship game. You know, I thought whoever won that was absolutely gonna win the Super Bowl, and it wouldn't even be close.
Leroy Butler, right?
I was talking 2013 when they came to New Jersey and completely broke my heart and stomped on Denver the second they had that first snap where they turned the ball over, and yeah, it was ugly. I kind of felt like if it was Niners Philly at the end, it's going to be the same kind of deal. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I felt. Like if it was our two teams, and especially if it was going to be in Philly, that kind of be like the real Super Bowl, and then whatever happened in Arizona was going to happen in Arizona.
I feel like the winner of the Eagles Niners game wins the Super Bowl, but that's for I mean, that's obviously all based on does every player make it out healthy and kind of whatnot. But yeah, no, this is going to be the best matchup like of the year. In all honesty, like these two teams are so good. Like 21-17, it could go either way. I don't see a shootout. See a good mix of offense.
I think it's going to be 24-17. And I really think, you know what the crazy part is? And I've been hoping for this for like a while for the Niners just because I love when it happens. But I feel like it's going to be like an almost tied game or close to it. And then I feel like what's going to decide it is if someone gets a defensive touchdown. Because I think your defense and my defense both can have that kind of power swing to like steal a game.
Speaking of defense, I have a question for you. How concerned are you that D'Amico Ryans has been spending all week interviewing for head coaching positions? You know, it's kind of part of the job, but he's been out interviewing for head coaching positions as much as he's been trying to game plan for this game.
Okay, so I was
think
more
it was a big
mad.
Interference Sunday. I think it was a big interference Sunday. Because he had 2 interviews on Sunday morning. I don't think the NFL should allow.
He canceled those. But when I first heard that news, I got really, really pissed off because I was like, "What the fuck is he doing interviews on game day? Like, I think that should never even be allowed. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't mind that they have a window of opportunity to allow the top echelon assistant coaches or assistant personnel in the upper echelon to be interviewed during the playoffs, because I feel like if it's not done during the playoffs, all those people will never get a chance to be a GM or a coordinator or a head coach, because most of those things are kind of like all decided by the time the Super Bowl happens. It's usually done really fast, so I would hate for those people not to have the opportunity if they chose it. But I do feel like it's gotten ridiculous how often, and especially if you're flying out for interviews during a game week, I think it's a huge distraction. But this week, I'm not so concerned about D'Amico doing interviews.
Well,
compared
real quick. There's a poll out there right now. I know I interrupted you. I know. There's a poll out there, and 41% of the people think it's going to be Bengals and Niners.
I would love that. I've been telling John B for years that was my goal Super Bowl again.
And that is from Russell S. Baxter, pretty big football guy.
But damn, you distracting me with that. So my biggest fear isn't D'Amico having interviews this week. It's actually something a bit more egregious that's going on with my team that is, I feel, going to be way more distracting. And
is it the dude getting arrested for the domestic violence?
That is exactly where I was going.
That was my next question. That's why I asked. I can't remember his name, but yeah.
Charles Menahu was arrested in San Jose for allegedly pushing a woman down on the ground.
Grab their arm.
Now, allegedly, I don't know if it. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's true. I don't know what's going on with the case, because that's a huge trigger for me. I've been a domestic violence survivor, and so it's one of my triggers. But what does concern me, though, is that a lot of people think that he should be put on sabbatical even if he's healthy, and he was already picked up in the Cowboys game. And Kyle Shanahan's kind of said he's back with the team already, and if he's healthy, where to go, and then just let the legal system deal with the legal system. And that is a concern of mine, because I think this team has been built a certain way since Reuben Foster, and we've kind of gotten rid of those knucklehead off the field,
Alden Smith.
abusive, toxic energy kind of guys who have real personal issues. And so between all of that, that is more of a concern for me. The distraction that Charles Omenihu is than D'Amico Ryans this particular week.
That makes sense. I mean, that's a tough situation anyway. I can't imagine. Like, honestly, I thought for a second there maybe he might sit this game because, like, not that he did anything wrong or anything like that, but it's going to be really hard, like, for any person to do any job when you have something like that kind of in the back of your mind, though, until that whole process gets resolved. But ultimately, athletes get paid millions of dollars and they're expected to be superhuman. So he's going to be expected to put it on the back burner. And I don't know how impactful he is. I hadn't seen his name, so I don't know if he's a starter or not. So that might be my bad. He might have 25 sacks and 10 interceptions this year, and I just am completely oblivious to it. But
he's a not like a starter. I mean, he started, I think, more when both Javon Kinlaw and Arik Armstead were out, and then he was kind of like a starter when one of them came back. But he can play outside, inside, and he's a very dangerous guy when like Nick Bosa needs spelling or one of the other players. So it's not that I don't value the player, because I was on his bandwagon. I was rooting for him to stay and get paid because he's a free agent this offseason. But either way, I don't see how it works long term, especially the way the Niners have been so anti this kind of thing lately, and they've worked so hard to get rid of these off the field distraction guys from this organization.
There's a lot of like questioning about this whole thing. There's no witnesses, and they said they were in public.
It was in his home, and supposedly they were whatever, and like it's just it's very dodgy. There's some people saying that he was breaking up with her, and this is her trying to get back at him. It's a very, very dodgy situation. But like I said, I've survived mental, physical, emotional abuse when I was a child. Domestic violence is something that is never should ever be taken lightly, and I will give all the victims the benefit of the doubt. The only one I've ever not really given the benefit of the doubt to was Amber Heard, because I really truly believed from the get-go she was taking advantage of Johnny Depp, and I was kind of proven right. But yeah, like I said, it's so anti what this team has brought together that I worry that's going to be an issue.
Well, if he does get guilty, he'll sign with Dallas in the offseason, because that's what they do down there.
I don't know. He could be an Eagle. I mean, you guys did bring in Michael Vick.
That's true. You know what's
I
funny?
know what.
Donovan McNabb was the biggest advocate to bring him in, and then Michael Vick was the reason he was on his way out. Thank God. I hate McNabb so much. That fucking, my bad, dude, with the smile. My God. Yeah, we know it's your bad, bitch.
The only one place I could feel like he won't ever be given a chance, and it's just because I don't see it happening, is probably the Giants. And you're probably going to think, oh, well, the Giants need talent. They could take whoever they possibly can get their hands on. But with Brian Daboll and the way that
guilty or not,
I'm not saying that he's guilty or not. I'm just saying he's going to be a free agent. So it's not like it's like the Niners are just going to turn him out no matter what happens. I'm saying I don't believe what they went through with their kicker situation and him saying that he didn't beat his wife, and then he was found out to have beaten his wife, and the Giants kept him and everything else. That's like the one franchise I just don't see him going to.
But yeah, I'm excited for Sunday. I'm excited for a good game. I think that, each team has its own strengths. I don't really know what to say, man, because I got to save all my stuff for tomorrow. But
I think it's going to
Okay,
be
I do have a
35-20.
couple questions for you because I felt like I've been mostly talking Niners, and I do have Philly questions. Do you think this is the last go around for Fletcher Cox and Lane Johnson and Travis Kelce? Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelsey's so Lane Johnson already said next year's his last year. He said next year, at the end of next year, he's probably going to retire. I would imagine Kelsey's done, especially if they win the Super Bowl. They drafted his replacement by his own doing this past offseason. So he's kind of sat on the bench and learned from Kelce for a year. So I imagine that Kelsey's probably done. He's been talking about retirement for the last couple of years now. So, but Fletcher Cox, I don't think Fletcher Cox is going to retire. I could see the Eagles bringing him back on a cheaper one-year deal because he did come on at the end of the season after they signed Joseph and Sue, and he started getting a little bit more rest. But the one thing that the Eagles were good at when Joe Banner was the GM was letting guys go when it was time. There's nobody more of an idol in Philadelphia sports than Brian Dawkins, arguably, and they let him walk. So I could see Cox being moved on, especially if they got to pay somebody else. And as I touched on in the beginning of the show, Hurts is going to be due a lot of money. You're going to have to start cutting contracts somewhere. Miles Sanders.
Don't you guys have to pay him this offseason because he was a second-round pick?
The contract negotiations can begin this offseason, but he still has one more year of his rookie deal.
And then my other question is, do you think Brandon Graham stays? I mean, that front seven of yours is not just dominant, but it's old. And I was wondering, with the way the league is going, do you guys switch up your offensive line more or your defensive line more?
So
whatever happens this Sunday or in the Super Bowl, whatever comes down the pike, because
they kind of already started the offensive line thing, right? They've got Johnson and Kelce are really the only old heads there, but Kelce's got his replacement sitting behind him anyway. The kid from Nebraska, I can't remember his last name, but they drafted him. They drafted him in the second round. But I mean, Mailata's 26, 27. Dickerson, he's in his second year in the NFL, so he's on his rookie deal. And then Sayamalu is only 28, 29. So they're a little bit younger. Now, they are older on the defensive line, but they're so deep. Like a lot of these guys don't play a lot of snaps anyway.
And they don't come out. That's what shocks me. They're older and they stay mostly in all game long, and they just bring it.
Now, Brandon Graham was robbed of an opportunity to win Comeback Player of the Year award. I don't know why Geno Smith is even a finalist. Where did he come back from? Himself being terrible? Like, he didn't come back from anything. He came back from being garbage.
I felt like Geno Smith was giving Comeback Player of the Year finalist because ESPN especially loved the story of how they were kind of the head of the West for several weeks while the Niners were kind of figuring things out. The way that Russell Wilson kind of went down in flames and Pete Carroll was kind of proven right that he could win with somebody else. And the fact that they loved the Cinderella story of someone who's been kind of in the league on and off for like 10 years, bouncing around, and came around and brought the Seahawks to the playoffs. So I felt like that is this year's Ryan Tannehill or somebody else that really didn't come back from an injury or truly had an outstanding season, but it's that feel-good story where they can push it and be like, See, your opportunities are never over in the league because look at what Geno Smith did after 10 years of being written off.
Of him being in his own way. But I mean, I get it. I do. I understand it. And in the reality of things, and I accepted this well before, the finals came out, is it's never going to go to a defensive lineman because nobody gives a shit about linemen. Like casuals don't care about linemen. They care about quarterbacks and skill positions, right? So that makes sense.
I felt like if Nick Bosa didn't even get a single vote last year and he had 15 and a half sacks.
That's what I'm saying. Like
he had a near all-pro year and he didn't get a single vote for Defensive Player of the Year or Comeback Player of the Year. I feel like they're always going to give it to the offense, especially if there's a quarterback involved, whether they deserve the credit or not.
But ultimately, like, I think we can all agree, like, that it's kind of some bullshit, like, that happens, right? Like, that's not the way that should be. Like, with the Bosa situation, like, Brandon Graham tore his Achilles, which is one of the worst injuries you can have in football.
Bosa had the awful ACL tear on that god-awful MetLife turf.
I'm so happy that they are making Fields go to all grass in 2024. Praise, especially for the 49ers fans. I know you guys are praising the Lord up there. You guys stay hurt on that turf field.
I hate that field.
But
I hate it. I don't know how Philly fans would feel about it, but people always laugh when I say this, but I think of the Meadowlands especially because I live in North Jersey, so it's kind of like hard not to notice that stupid ass stadium. But I always call it the tuna can in the swamp because that's what the Meadowlands kind of is. It's all like swampland. It's all like whatever, and I think it's still one of the most ugly design stadiums. The seats are awful. They're an ugly gray. They even shouldn't even be cold gray. And the stupid outside of it's so awful. And then those stupid things that hang off on the side are supposed to be like the jet wings coming up in for a landing or some nonsense. And I don't understand why they got rid of Giant Stadium. The Jets are a tenant; they're not an owner in the field. They don't contribute to it. But I actually had the misfortune of going there this spring. My father wanted to go there because, the Jets had 2 top 10 picks and the Giants had 2 top 10 picks, and he wanted to go see the picks in person. And my players were injured 2 years ago, so me walking on that field, I thought maybe it would have gotten softer over time. But it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever had to walk on. So the fact that they're finally tearing it up this month, it's just astounding that it's taken this long for them to finally admit it. And I find it funny that the reason why they're finally ripping it up is because Sterling Shepard kind of became this sacrificial figure where it's like he's had so many injuries because he's so damn small. And his latest, I think, was it his Achilles or his ACL tear, was like the final push for people to talk about how bad MetLife is on all these injuries to all these players.
Ryan, you remember when we used to play on the Vet in the Three River Stadium?
Yep. But to answer your original question, about these guys, am I worried about them getting replaced? So I think the Eagles are in a really good spot here because when you look at
you guys have 6 high draft picks because you guys made that trade with the Saints.
That's what
you're in the top 10.
Whereas a lot of teams, they sell their first round picks to get to this spot, or they own their own first round pick. The Eagles have their first round pick and number 10 overall, and they have 2 firsts next year. Like this team, like they're an elite level squad with extra draft picks. Like this is how, I've given him shit for years and I couldn't stand his ass to save him. Like the way that he handled the Carson Wentz
Howie Roseman.
Dude's done a phenomenal job. Dude's done I can't say his name because God, he used to piss me off so bad, but Howie Roseman's done a fantastic job. Like this is how This is how dynasties are made. Like it really is. Like the turnover of talent is like, okay, so I wouldn't be shocked if they draft Paris Johnson at number 10 overall, because you got to go get Lane's replacement, right? If you're going to pay Hurts, you might as well keep him upright.
You know, the funny thing is, though, I was so scared I was going to get stuck with a goddamn Philadelphia Eagle this offseason. And even though we gave him guaranteed money, we still cut him. And I'm so grateful that he's not here, because there's no way the Niners are in the championship game if Nate Sudfeld was their backup quarterback.
No way.
And I hate that Howie Roseman forced Doug Peterson to do that and not only screw the Giants out of the playoffs in 2020, but forced him to just put in Nate Sudfeld to end that game.
That wasn't a Howie Roseman decision. That was an ownership decision. That came from Jeffrey Lurie.
Whoever chose to do that ridiculous thing.
Now, see, what's funny
annoying
is
me for years.
Like, and a lot of people don't like really pay attention to it. Like, they just assume, oh, Jalen Hurts got benched and the Eagles would have won.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of 2 drives that started inside the opponent's 30-yard line, Jalen Hurts was horrible that game. I mean, absolutely horrendous. The Eagles were not going to win that game, no matter who finished that game at quarterback. I mean, Hurts had 2 picks. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, but like I said, the drive started.
But you guys wanted to stick it to the Giants and make sure that they can make the playoffs.
That's not what happened. Like, let's be honest. Like, that decision, 1, came out, it was made before the game started. 2, like I said, Hurts was not going to win that game. Like, he was playing awful. Like, outside of 2 drives that were less than 30 yards, and that's what resulted in scores, they didn't move the ball past midfield. They weren't going to win.
But you gotta admit, there's no love between, as much as you guys all hate the Cowboys, there's no love between the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, sniping the Giants, getting at the Giants, was trading up to number 10 overall to draft Devontae Smith.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. You guys, that was one of the most petty things I've ever seen, because the Giants,
Dallas,
it's the Giants front office is the dumbest idiots to always let everyone know who the hell they want to draft. And you guys were like, oh, well, we need a receiver and we're going to make a deal with the Cowboys because we already know the Cowboys aren't going to go for a receiver, and we're going to trade with Dallas and we're going to snipe the thing right before the Giants pick. Like, that was god-awful.
But yeah, the Eagles are in a great spot. So as far as replenishing talent, I'm not concerned about it. They are aging, a little bit on that defensive line, but Jordan Davis is young. There's some really good pass rushers in the top 10 in this draft. They have the flexibility with 2 firsts to trade up. They could trade the number 10 pick back and get more draft capital.
You guys really used the guy that you got in the 3rd round this year?
N'Kobe
the one that him, the one that everyone thought should have been a high 1st round pick, and then he kept falling and falling and falling for all his I guess behavioral whatnots, and then
they didn't use him a ton, but I don't think the defense called for it, and TJ Edwards became very quietly a very good linebacker. I don't think that he's better than Dre Greenlaw or Fred Warner. That's one of, the positional advantages that the 49ers have over the Eagles. But I think he, for whatever this is worth, I think PFF had him the 6th highest graded overall linebacker in football or something like that. So, I mean, he's had a good year. I think it's indicating he's had a good year. I think he does okay in pass coverage. I think he's a great run stopper. But, I mean, the Eagles don't play a defense where they have 3 linebackers. They play usually a 5-2-4 or a 5-1-5, something like that. So 2, 3 linebackers on the field isn't a commonplace there.
Yeah, the Niners like a lot of nickel packages.
Do the Niners run man, or do they run a lot of man, or no?
They do
I need
both.
to be able to predict which receiver is going to go off for the Eagles.
They do both. Sadly, they don't use man as much as I would like. But what's scary is when they leave the secondary vulnerable and they have Tono Hufanga kind of lining up next to Nick Bosa. So he blitzes right off the defensive line. those are the plays that I fear the most, because it's just when you have one less person in your secondary. Talno Hufanga can be hit or miss sometimes, but when he's that high and away from the secondary, especially with how fast your receivers are, that worries me this game.
Yeah, because Brown's a good enough receiver, he can win on, whether it's man or zone. I guess Smith is too, but Smith's more of a zone killer because of his route running and his zone recognition. So
I also feel like Smith is a killer because people seem to forget that you guys have another receiver. They all fear AJ Brown. They all respect Dallas Goedert because he's one of the better tight ends, right?
mhm.
They all take your running backs way seriously. Because they might be like the household names that are in your division, but Boston Scott and Miles Sanders are definitely nothing not to sneeze at. So I feel like Devontae Smith, especially, is kind of like that guy that gets kind of lost in the shuffle, and it's just like pick your poison. If you shut down everybody else, Devontae Smith can absolutely take advantage of the situation.
Yeah. Speaking of running backs, let's talk about snubs here. I like Miles Sanders, right? Had a fantastic season, 8th in the NFL in carries, over 1,200 total yards, 12 touchdowns. Dude had a fantastic year. I'm not taking nothing away from him. Ain't no way in hell he's making the Pro Bowl over Christian McCaffrey. Like, come on now, man. What are we doing with this shit? Like, there were a lot of good NFC running backs this year, so I get it. It's hard to pick and choose. Christian McCaffrey is probably the best backfield weapon in the NFL. I don't think he's obviously as good of a pure runner as like Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb, but as far as like backfield weapons go, like I think it's CMC and then everybody else.
Okay, so I think a few things with that, right? This opportunity was made open because Tony Pollard got injured, right? And Christian McCaffrey, correct me if I'm wrong, was the only one who was second team Pro Bowl, and he was the alternate, right? I don't think Miles Sanders even made the alternate team.
No, Miles Sanders he was picked over Christian McCaffrey to go to the Pro Bowl for whatever.
No, but was he originally an alternate?
No, he was one of the 3 running backs selected to be on the team. Because there's 3 running backs that go to each roster. It was Pollard, Sanders, and who was the other NFC? Barkley.
Don't even get me started on Saquon Barkley. That's gonna be like a 5-hour conversation where I just call out how awful of a person I think he is, both as a player and off the field. But Miles Sanders, I don't mind him being named Pro Bowler. I think Christian McCaffrey is getting a raw deal because a lot of people just don't want to give him the credit that he deserves. I mean, nobody had respect for the Panthers until kind of like Steve Wilkes took over and got rid of Christian McCaffrey and then had them on the precipice of making the playoffs. And then they had Deontay Johnson and Chuba Hubbard and all these other guys kind of like take over. So I think people kind of discredited whatever Christian McCaffrey was doing for the Panthers at the beginning of the year. And then as he became part of the Niners, he became essential for us. But a lot of people still talk about the big names. They don't talk about the guys who make our offense run well. So people will put Deebo Samuel in the alternate spot for a receiver. But really, if you really look at the games themselves, Brandon Ayuk should have gotten that nod instead of Deebo because A, Deebo missed a lot of time, and B, Brandon has been the better receiver. But because he has that name recognition because of what he did last year, he kind of got the nod, And so I feel like Pro Bowls are important, but they're really more a popularity contest.
Here's the reality of the Pro Bowl, right? I'm about to go on a 2-minute rant. For an accolade that gets used to judge people's Hall of Fame statuses, especially for linemen who don't have measurable statistics, the fact that fans are considered 1/3 of the vote for the Pro Bowl is bullshit. because these people just vote on names that
Ah,
are big in fantasy. No, there is no because think about casual Joe showing
I,
up to a game
I disagree with you there. I
and
think the one that's the most dangerous when it comes to Pro Bowl voting is the beat writers themselves.
well, the beat writers don't get a vote in the Pro Bowl. It's the coaches and executives, it's the players, and then it's the fans. Those are the 1/3. The beat writers
No.
decide AP All Pro,
Okay, because
but Pro Bowls are not.
I
voted on by
don't
the
I
writers.
don't think the fans are the ones usually
but
screwing things
the
up
fans-
because
the fans are the reason.
in my opinion,
let me finish
in my-
first because
okay.
the fans are the reason the Debo Samuels get in over the Brandon Ayuks, right? Debo Samuel's the bigger name. It's the reason
Mhm.
that these big name players make it in over guys who quietly had better seasons, right? You think about these players that are like, man, this dude should have been a Pro Bowler, this dude should have been a Pro Bowler, right? Fans only care about big names. That's why, like, it's big and it's like that in all sports, but it's criminally bad in football and baseball. Like big names sell tickets. Those are the reasons why people go to games, right? People are going to pick Debo Samuel over Brandon Ayuk all the time. When in reality, Brandon Ayuk's had a better season this year. I think fans are too casual to determine something that could potentially affect the outcome of somebody's Hall of Fame status. That's just my
Okay,
that's my take
so
on it.
in that respect, I agree with you, right? Because a lot of people are just either fantasy football or they go off the names they hear on ESPN all the time, or whoever campaigns harder for Pro Bowl. Like in my opinion, right? Not in the postseason, but in the regular season, I don't think it's really a disputed fact if you actually watch the games that Dre Greenlaw wiped the floor with Fred Warner and it was the much better linebacker. But because Fred Warner went on Twitter and he kept campaigning for himself and he kept saying, I'm only like 7th in linebacking voting, and he fought so hard for it. And he was a household name already that he kind of got the nod. So in that respect, I agree with you. But I don't think the fans come up with some kind of the knucklehead Pro Bowl decision. So like in 2020, I felt like Robert Tonyan was like his one healthy year, right? And he was a beyond dominant tight end. And the tight end that got in over him was Evan Ingram. And anybody who knows anything about the league knows Evan Ingram can't block, can barely catch. He's not even a good decoy. And it felt like the Bills and the Jets and the Giants were all so bad, and the New York market wanted it so badly that they just forced Evan Ingram above someone who was deserving. And that's not name recognition or anything else. I felt like the other non-fans were the reason why something like that happens.
Yeah, and I think in the long run, like it doesn't really make a difference, right? Because the names that you hear on ESPN all the time are good players. However, I think far too often there are good players who have down years that get voted in to an accolade, like I said, that determine, and it's going to always be criminally bad with the offensive line because the offensive linemen, the only measurable stat they really have for Hall of Fame candidacy are all pro selections and Pro Bowls. Like pancake blocks are a stat, but nobody gives a shit, right? Like
No, I agree. I mean, I think for me, I would personally love for Joe Staley to make the Hall of Fame, but I think because he's not one of those ultra dominant, forced to be reckoned with personality or play, he might never even get an opportunity to be a finalist because it's so hard for an offensive lineman to stand out from the crowd. So I kind of feel like you have to be like a Joe Thomas or a Trent Williams. You have to have that like extra something that makes people notice who you are, you know? Which really shocked me this year because Jake Brendel made an alternate for Pro Bowl, and I don't think he's really that good. And then someone told me center play has been down around the league, but I felt like he got in simply because he was a Niner.
yeah, and that the offensive line is going to be the most affected by it. But like I think Right, so the Eagles had 5 Pro Bowlers or first Pro Bowl alternates on their offensive line. I think the offensive line play collectively from the Eagles this year was almost unmatched by anybody in the NFL. But I don't think Mailata should have been a first alternate. Like, I don't agree with that. I think he kind of took a half step back this year, particularly in his pass blocking. There was some susceptibility to speed rushes there. I maybe it speaks for left tackle play across the league. I can't really talk about that too much, but I don't think Mailata was the second best left tackle in the NFC, just based on what I've seen from him.
Yeah, I feel like that was mostly you guys being 15-1 or close to whatever, 13-1 for so long, and your only loss being a divisional game, which people gave you guys more credit for, because a lot of people say, well, divisional games are always a toss up. So they didn't even take that loss that seriously. So I think when voting happens and it's right before Christmas or something, they felt like a lot of that is oh, well, look at Philly. They're so dominant. They're so unbelievable. Look at the way they're running on people. And Jalen Hurts is having all these beautiful designed runs, and then him just taking off, and the way your running backs are doing so well. I think a lot of people just gave all the praise to your offensive line for making all those situations kind of happen for you.
And I mean, it's a great offensive line, don't get me wrong, but my biggest fear is that Lane Johnson's never going to go to the Hall of Fame, because, I mean, he's the best right tackle in the last half decade at least. I mean, there's nobody in NFL history that has a longer consecutive, pass blocking streak of no sacks allowed. It's over 600 and climbing, but I just think that he's not going to make the Hall of Fame because he's never in the top 100 players. He's hardly ever voted into the Pro Bowl, and it just sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like for an offensive lineman, if you don't have something that sets you apart in players' memory or in fans' memory, you're kind of done a disservice. Joe Staley is beloved by Niner fans. I'm sure the way that Lane Johnson's beloved by Eagle fans, but Joe never had that that spark that made him stand out aside from our fan base. He had a George Kittle kind of goofy personality, and we all loved him for it. But he didn't have that tough guy mentality. He didn't have that rough tough thing. He didn't have the pretty numbers or the physical gifts that a Joe Thomas or a Trent Williams had. And I feel like Lane Johnson kind of has that similar thing where he's great and he should be up for it, but he doesn't make an impact on the world the way that he should.
Exactly what it is. It's because he plays right tackle. That's it. If he was producing, think about
at left tackle that way,
over 600 consecutive pass blocking snaps without a sack allowed. It's the longest streak in NFL history.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, Ryan. I'm saying the sexy positions are usually center and
left tackle.
And left tackle.
You know who would appreciate Lane Johnson? Tua Tagovailoa.
Aside from Zach Martin or something where you get the guards that get a lot of love, or a Quentin Nelson or something, but I feel like
who was
right tackle.
He's a Pro Bowl alternate too.
Yeah, which was mostly based off on what his name has done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Adam. Do you want to get a word in?
I'm just listening to you two. I'm learning about all this stuff. Sorry, I had to step out. My nose just was starting to I felt the pressure, and my house must be really dry because I all of a sudden it started bleeding. So I knew I had to escape for a minute. Sorry, I was going like this, and I was holding my nose. I can't help it when it gets really dry. My nose just I just want to cut off my capillaries and make my nose look like Michael Jackson.
I think special teams is going to play a role here too, because my breakdown tomorrow, Quarterback, I give the advantage to the Eagles. Running back goes to
Mhm.
San Fran. Wide receiver, I give to the Eagles. Tight end goes to San Fran. Offensive line goes to the Eagles, and so does defensive line. Linebackers is the San Fran. The secondary, I give to the Eagles. But the Eagles' special teams graded out at 31st this year. And I honestly have no idea how there was a team worse than the Eagles on special teams this year. They were atrocious. It was trash. I mean, we got a guy who I think he averages 6 yards per punt return. And then our punter was 45th. Our punter for most of the year was 45th in net average. There's 32 teams in the NFL. So all their starters and then half the backups in the NFL were better than this guy. Like, what are we doing here? Like, Eagles fans were like rejoicing that this guy might come back for the NFC Championship game. I'm like, no, like his injury was unfortunate. Leave his ass on the bench. He sucks. Like, I can punt 40 yards and, you know, get a net average of 20. And I would take half the amount of money he's doing it for. Like, Aaron Sipos is terrible. So, like, I feel like the huge advantage to the 49ers, and I don't even know how good or bad the 49ers special teams is. Can't be any fucking worse than the Eagles. They're terrible at it.
So, that actually comforts me. Thank you. I didn't even know that. Nobody's really even talking about that. The one worry I do have, though, is sometimes whoever returns kicks for us has turnover issues. So, like this past game, Ray McLeod fumbled the ball and gave Dallas a short field. It was a bigger issue earlier in the season. So I really hope that's one area where the Niners kind of like take the pressure off of Brock Purdy in the offense and can take advantage on your special teams. Because, like I said, I never even heard that before. Like, there's been so much talk about this game, and no one's bringing up how the Eagles fare up against the Niners special teams.
Like the Eagles, like if you look at their points allowed versus the yards allowed, right? So they've allowed one more yard per game than the 49ers, right? The 49ers have allowed 300 yards per game, and the Eagles have allowed 301. But the point differential is different. It's the 49ers have allowed 16 and the Eagles have allowed 20. It's because the special teams is dog shit, right? And we're allowing these 45-yard kickoffs like twice a game. So we're putting the defense on a short field. Like if the special teams could learn to help out the defense a little bit, right? Like we could actually, you know, coffin corner some kicks or maybe tackle a kick returner before he reaches the 35-yard line. I think that the defensive numbers would look more respected. I think that the point total would look closer to what the 49ers looks like. But the special teams for the Eagles is just so like Ray McLeod could have fumbled 10 times last game, and I guarantee you he returns a kick 65 yards plus, probably has a punt return for a touchdown. They're terrible. It's just unbelievably awful. Like I said, I don't know how they graded out at 31st. That's generous.
I have a feeling neither Fernando or John V is really listening to this anymore because it's like near 3 hours. But I can swear to you, if either of them were listening to this right now, they'd probably be going on Twitter and spreading this around for all the Niner content creators to make a big talking blurb for the rest of the week.
Go for it, because I was on Talking 215 at the Philadelphia Sports Talk Show on our network. If you're listening, go check them out. Those guys are awesome. And we all agreed. We were like, how the hell did they get graded that high?
So you guys don't have like any special team returners or real good gunners who tackle? I meant in a positive way.
We have a guy that can go back there and call fair catch.
Okay, because that's the one Niners improvement that I've enjoyed the most this year. We brought in the guy from Seattle, and I hate giving anything from Seattle credit, but he completely rejuvenated our special teams, which was one of the worst ones. And so he got guys like George Odom, and he got Sammy Womack, the rookie, and he got Tavarius Moore, who's been kind of like bouncing around our roster, and he brought in Oren Burks and all these like other guys who are good depth pieces, but they're very good special teamers, and he's kind of built this juggernaut on kicks, and that is my hope that we can actually do that and take advantage, because I believe in my offense if things help them out. So if the defense can't do it and the offense can't do it, I'm hoping that special teams is that little light that they need to make a spark into a flame.
Yeah, the Eagles special teams is awful. Ain't no other way to say it. They're terrible. But the good news is we really haven't had to rely on them all year because we've top 5 offense and top 2 defense. So
I was wondering, how the hell did you get the Saints first round pick? I know, wasn't CJ Gardner-Johnson a free agent, or did you guys trade for him?
no, we traded a 5th and a 6th rounder for him, and he led the
Okay,
league in
so-
interceptions.
So then,
and
how
missed
did you
5
get the Saints' 10th overall pick?
It was from a trade last year. It was we moved back the Colts trade, like because we got the Colts first rounder and the Carson Wentz deal, and then we traded
Mhm.
back. We traded back in the draft.
Oh,
and
okay,
got
okay.
the Saints first rounder.
Okay.
So
I
Um,
still can't believe the way you guys you took such bad advantage of me.
I think the Colts are a team that's screwed. Like I mean, as long as like Jim Irsay is like really teetering on like Jerry Jones type of like bad ownership of a football team, and the fact that he's letting
No,
Chris Ballard,
Jim
like,
Irsay is right there with Dan Snyder as a really blow-hearted douchebag who's just gonna blow up his organization.
actually it's kind of a combination of both because like where Jerry Jones is never going to like build a Super Bowl winning team by himself. That's kind of Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay is also a huge piece of shit as a human being. So like there's that too. But like the fact that he's letting Chris Ballard run around, go buck wild and do whatever he wants, like and every move that he makes is wrong. You know, they keep trading for veteran quarterbacks. The fact that they traded for Matt Ryan, who I was blown away that Colts fans and everybody in like national media thought was some kind of upgrade over Carson Wentz in terms of play on the field,
I'm sorry, John, if you're still listening.
then guaranteed his entire contract before he took a snap with the team. They deserved every little bit of Matt Ryan that they got this year. Like when you do shit like that, you're an idiot.
Oh my god.
That's
I
a
don't know who's
fireable
worse.
offense.
I don't know who's worse about that, the Broncos or the Colts recently, with the old ass vets mantra that they've been living under.
I mean, the Broncos whiffed pretty bad here too. Like there ain't no
Well,
two ways.
Seattle made the playoffs and gets a fifth pick overall.
Yeah, like
I mean, Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, Teddy Two Gloves.
It's
Oh my
awful.
god, it's just so bad. I love you, John B. And if you listen back to this, I'm sorry, but I just never, ever, ever respected Matty Ice and the Indianapolis Colts, or thought they were going to take over.
and then there's the Saints, who I can't believe Mickey Loomis still has a job there. I mean, they're $60 million in cap debt already. They don't have a first round pick to draft a quarterback.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's going to be Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill again, but that's not going to do anything for them.
I mean, I don't think Winston's going to re-sign with them after he just got benched this year.
But who else is going to take a shot at Jameis Winston? I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
nobody.
He was
I don't
Mr.
think-
30-30.
I don't think Jameis Winston's going to start in the NFL anymore. I think he goes somewhere as a backup. But and this is going to sound crazy, the only logical move that I can think of for the Saints to get somebody different at quarterback, somebody that they can afford and can take the risk on, Zach Wilson. Like I'm not like he's cheap. He's cheap, right? He's on a rookie deal, so he's not a huge cap hit. He's not expensive
God.
anymore. You definitely don't got to give up a first-round pick to get him. And if he sucks again, the Saints have their 2024 first-round pick, so they can just draft his replacement. But they like going and getting like a Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo for $20 million. That's not going to fix this team. They're a terrible team. They're
Mhm.
bad on offense. Michael Thomas doesn't want to be there. Oh, by the way, they have to restructure his contract so they don't take $27 and $28 million cap hits, respectively, for cutting him. It's a mess. Like Mickey Loomis has gotten them into a mess.
That's nuts.
I
Oh my
that's
goodness.
a franchise I would never want to be a part of.
Zach Wilson being the face of Who Dat Nation.
Like
Oh my
in
Lord.
reality, like logically, I think it makes sense. They need a young quarterback, right? And say Zach Wilson just needs to get out of New York and he plays decent, right? Just say he plays decent ball in New Orleans or whatever, right? Like it looks like he's turning around, right? It's a guy you still have 2 more years of cheap control. And if he sucks, like I said, you just you go after Drake May or Caleb Williams. Like,
Mhm.
but they can't afford to pay Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr. That's not going to make a difference for their team anyway. They're not a good football team. There's a reason you're picking. You would have
I'm
been
just
picking in the top
saying,
10.
this the Saints and all these organizations this past off season all had opportunities to seal up Jimmy Garoppolo, and none of them wanted him.
I think because a lot of the NFL realizes Jimmy Garoppolo's aided in a system.
I'm just saying, if you were that hard up for quarterback and Matt Ryan gets guaranteed money and Sam Wilson and Baker Mayfield are fighting out for the Panthers job, and they go for Carson Wentz, and they have all these other positions that they're taking, and Jimmy Garoppolo can't get one team to bite. I don't see him making over $20 million with any of these franchises this offseason. He had another freaking injury to his throwing arm again, which wasn't that good to begin with. His technique is abysmal, and he's injury prone, and he's old. And a lot
Yeah,
of
he's
people
gonna be,
think
what,
he only was
32 next year?
succeeding because of Shanahan. I literally do not see it happening. I think the interesting part is if he goes back to either Belichick or if he goes down to McDaniels.
I think him. Well, to continue, I think him going to McDaniels is the more likely because Belichick just got a new offensive coordinator for Mac Jones.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
An actual offensive coordinator, not a rocket scientist. Would you believe it? Was that on your show I said that?
No.
Matt Patricia is a rocket scientist.
Oh, you might have. I don't remember.
Yeah, he has a degree in aerospace something rather.
He's
In a
like,
really simplistic term, he's a rocket scientist.
he's like Baxter from Offspring.
So
Actually,
so being an NFL offensive coordinator is harder than being a rocket scientist.
That don't make any sense.
Well, Matt Patricia got one right and the other not. So
So Ryan, next Wednesday, I might see if I got room, but there's gonna be a good baseball show. If you're
Okay.
interested.
yeah, I haven't talked baseball since November probably.
Yeah, I haven't looked up anything yet, but me and Matt are working on something pretty good here right now.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened to Melissa. Maybe her phone died, or I don't know. I saw her starting to fumble with stuff, so she might have been dying trying to plug it in or something.
But yeah, I listed out my advantages and disadvantages, and I know 49ers Nation would probably argue with me over the wide receiver thing, but I think that's just them not realizing how good Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown were this year. However, huge special teams advantage. I mean, every team in the NFL has a huge special team advantage over the Eagles.
I'm seeing 35-24 Niners. I'm seeing
You think it's going to be that
a
high
late
scoring?
interception for a touchdown. I think it will. I think it is.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, right? You know, everybody's expecting it to be a little bit of a low scoring game, but
I don't know. I just see the first game being high scoring, and the second game everyone's expecting blowout, and I think it's going to be not blowout, but I mean like just high scoring. I think both games are going to be really good, but I just see 35-24, late interception by Hurts, returned by the
Yeah,
defense to seal it.
and like I said at
That's
the
just
top of
my-
the show, I think for the first time in a while, the 4 best teams to each conference is the championship, right? I don't think that there's a better team in the NFC than San Francisco or Philadelphia, and likewise for the AFC. Doc,
I
you want
don't
to go on a
know.
walk?
I don't know. My dog going nuts.
My dog's dead asleep probably because I said walk and he didn't even come here. So
But that's my prediction. So what time's your show tomorrow?
6:30. I'll probably
Yeah, it's an-
I'll probably put that one on Spotify too for people that can't watch live. Because usually we do them on
Sweet.
Friday nights, but this one's weird. We're doing it on Thursday. I
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
see.
yeah.
There's this one dude on YouTube that subscribed to us, and he's a Cowboys fan. So we kind of been, talking some smack all year. And he showed up in our comments last week because we both picked. We all picked the Bucks to beat the Cowboys, and he's talking a little bit of smack. So I need to see him this week. I need to see him this week on the show.
Sweet. Well, somehow it turned into a Niners conversation, so that's why we got the Niner background. And,
That's fine.
And and my outro is going to be the intro for the Niners show. It's going to be a little different.
Okay.
So you're going to hang
So
out
when we're
backstage for
talking
a minute?
about, so what are you gonna do when the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl? What kind of intro are you gonna do? Just curious.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to
That's
happen.
That's funny.
Both road teams are going to win this weekend, and it's going to be a weird day.
Yeah, I do think the Bengals win. I think the Bengals win. I just think that the Eagles win too. And I think if that's the matchup, I think the Eagles pass rush can give Joe Burrow and his big playability a lot of issues. But I'm sure every team's pass rush has said that. So
I think it's going to be all about that ankle. 'Cause we
yeah,
all
I mean,
know a
he
high
looked
ankle
okay in
sprain.
the second half, but I'm curious as to how much of that was adrenaline ridden.
Adrenaline, pain pills.
Apparently, everybody was available to practice today, according to Andy Reid. So
I mean, he's not going to be 100%. It's a high ankle sprain. We all know it takes 6 to 8 weeks, maybe
Yep.
longer. But I mean, it is the playoffs, and
Mahomes is superhuman. So
right. So apparently, we got
But,
some porn stars watching on the watching on Twitch. I don't know what the hell all that crap is on the comments. I need to figure that out. I don't know anything about Twitch, but I know we're on it.
yeah, I was gonna start streaming on Twitch here soon because I'm a big gamer too. So
I don't understand any of it, but whatever. But all right, Rye. Yeah, so we will definitely see you next Tuesday, correct? Maybe.
yeah, did you just call me a cunt?
No, I said Rye.
See you next Tuesday. You've never heard that? CUNT. See you next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, because you're one of my favorite. You're one of my favorite hosts on the show here.
Yeah, but for those of you that don't know where to find me by now, I'm fairly regular here. It's right down there at BS6
Right
Sports
there,
on Twitter.
Ryan. I even like gave you a shout out to your show whenever I first called you on today for the first time ever. I think.
I know. I think you did too. You said Ryan from BSing Sports. I was like, oh shit, I'm official. Yay.
I don't know what to say for Logan, but that's a whole nother ball game. I think
Yeah.
he's going back. I think he's not going back. I don't
He
know.
said he's like kind of involved. I mean, we'll talk about it when we're not live, but
Yeah. But all right, kids. As you saw, Melissa and Ryan and I inputted on the it ended up being Dynamite in the Gold Mine tonight. So that was it. We'll see y'all next time.